Very good to see you. Happy New Year, Elizabeth.
Oh,
New Year, New
thank
Year.
you.
Enjoying your hair. You're kind of flinging it about over there. So.
Oh, I'm still getting comfortable here. I'm caught up in a cord. Hold on one second.
Bangles.
There we go.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
Oh,
Oh,
I
good.
like your picture today. That's beautiful.
Oh, yes, it's Bina. Bina's hanging out. I'll show you. You see where my cursor is? Can you see?
Oh,
Venus at the top
that's
of this, not quite just the one floor from below. That's where Venus is. She's kind of hanging out over
beautiful.
there.
Yeah,
I
it's a
have a
blue
whole
picture.
file full of these, and the file is called Nobilia Living, and it's all different places on Nobilia. So I don't know, dozens or hundreds of these. So different variations, all
Oh,
different architecture, different styles. So Nobilia is a very magical place. I was telling Bina about it also. Right, Bina? Very magical place,
yes,
right?
yes,
Very awesome
yes.
place. Very awesome place.
Is that somewhere you've been?
No, no, Nobilia is a planet. It's a part of the Biala series. It's a long story. It's a long story. So yeah, it's just it's part of the book series I've written about the new nobility. A society built around nobility, and they come into the Mourners project, the masterclass of the way of impeccability. There's a whole course on them. It's a mechanism by which to implement ideas and to show them through application rather than just to write it theoretically. So, it's a fictional society set in the future, and it's used to illustrate lots of the concepts of way of impeccability. So, all of them, not just lots of them. So, yeah.
I think I've heard of that before.
Yeah, yeah. So I mentioned Biella every now and then, and I quote her a lot. So I think I sent you a friend request on Facebook. Was it you? I tried to
Oh,
find you. Or no, it was Justin. I couldn't find you.
uh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. I will look at that.
So I can add you to the group, and sometimes it's easy to message via Messenger on Facebook. So just
Okay.
for that, it's kind of handy. And the group is fun. There's always interesting stuff in the group. So
Okay, great.
yeah.
I'll look for that.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I didn't send you the message because I couldn't find you. So you can
Oh,
friend
gotcha.
me on there. Just Sol
Okay.
Sebastian. It's very easy to find. So
Okay, I will do that. I have
yeah. And it's Sebastian with all A's. Sabatia.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So three A's you like for appropriateness, attunement, and awareness.
I have a Facebook page for my artwork for my business, but I
Ah.
never hardly use it, and so
Okay.
I might maybe I'll
Well,
make
no,
one
no. Just do
for
personally. Just
personal.
just personal.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
make a personal page and then friend you there.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh
Yeah.
no, no, not a page. Just from your own self, whoever you are. You don't have a personal profile. You have to
No,
if
I
you have
just
a
have.
page. You just went.
I'll find you. I'll
Okay.
find you. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, you went directly to make a page. I didn't think that was possible. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I mean, the pages are dead on Facebook. They get very little. Facebook doesn't show them to anybody if you make posts there. They used to boost them a long time ago. It was a big thing on Facebook, but then they shifted to groups. So now they're just dead. So
Okay.
yeah. So
So
just so you know,
what is your name on?
SYL and then SABASTIAN. So Sebastian. That's why I said Sebastian with all A's, you see, like in the A plus philosophy. Actually, the name came first, but anyway. Do you find me?
I have a very slow connection here. I'm
Oh,
working on it, but yes, I just found you. Yeah.
all right. Yeah, I was going to say I come up pretty easy. I don't think there are others that's a unique name on Facebook as far as I know. So it's pretty handy. Pretty handy.
So you do have a group or?
Oh yeah. Then I'll invite you to the group once you friended me. You see, or I've accepted your friend request. So
Okay.
yeah, the group is still growing. It's a pretty big group already. It's like over 5,000 now. We're almost close to 6,000 now, I think. So anyway, we'll probably
All
be at
right.
10,000 at the end of the month. There we
I'll
go. Oh, not yet. Something
no,
else.
I'll do it after
Okay.
our
Oh, sure, sure. There's
session
no hurry. There's
because
no hurry. Yeah.
I want to create a personal page
Yeah.
and have it
Yeah.
not be my
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
artwork.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Yeah. And again,
Okay.
when you say page, a page is a very specific thing on Facebook. I think you just mean a profile, a personal profile. Yeah.
Profile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Personal profile.
Yeah.
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 Because right
Yeah. Good.
now
Good.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. As a page, and
I don't want to really
no,
put
exactly.
the two together. This is
Correct.
personal for
Correct.
me.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a handy way to connect and um, just to message very easily and quickly, and then also to be in the group. We post a lot of fun stuff, and other people post, and it's good to learn and see. It's not the biggest thing. It's not a critical thing. Not right now. But later, as we go, we'll start weeding out people who are just promoting themselves and their coaching, which sometimes they post valuable stuff, and then we'll just have it more for people that really are posting stuff of value. And like, sure, Sher does Way of Impeccability. She's doing the hearing and helping course right now. She's done Way of Impeccability, so she posts her journey. She shares her journey, and that's really what the group is for. But not everybody understands that. So yeah, some do. So we moderate it very heavily. So there's good value in there. It's helpful.
Okay.
But
Great.
don't worry too much about it, because it's not. If you're going to spend time reading stuff, read Way of Impeccability. Do the stuff online. The course. So, but it's a helpful forum to share your journey, because like Sher does, if you share your journey and like your takeaways, for instance, make those into a post. It's very powerful post. And you're not posting because you want people to give you likes or comment. If you get comments, that's a bonus. Because you get perspective on what you're saying. But you're posting it because you're posting it to the universe, and you're putting it out there. And when we make something public, we tend to kind of stand behind it, you know. So,
Yeah.
this is a very powerful mechanism to understand. It has nothing
Yeah.
to do with whether anybody reads it or not. Just the fact that somebody could read it leverages your honesty, right? Your self honesty.
Right. I
So
love it. That's
exactly,
helpful.
it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing.
I
So
I've been so shy on Facebook.
yeah,
I when
exactly.
I went through my illness and I was home, there was a couple of years where I was on all the time, and I learned how it worked. And boy, I got hacked, and it was really um, enlightening experience for
Yeah,
me. And
yeah.
so in the last few years, I just haven't used it much um, in the way that I used to, but I did. I'm looking forward to,
Oh, good.
yeah, starting over.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, Bina
So,
had
I
also
will
a
make a
hacking
personal
experience that
pick.
was life changing. Yeah,
What's
right, Bina?
that?
I say Bina also had a hacking experience that was life changing. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah. Turned out really good, right, Bina?
Absolutely wonderful.
Say again. You broke up a bit.
It is okay. I said absolutely wonderful experience,
Okay.
and it was a life transformative for me, and still I feel blessed that I have that experience.
Yeah, interesting. All right. So I couldn't quite hear you. Were breaking up, Bina, but I know
yeah,
it
I
was a
can't hear
powerful
you.
experience for you. So by the way, when on Zoom, Elizabeth, it's helpful to close Facebook or any other apps. They tend to suck your bandwidth and make the
Uh,
connection slow. So if you got anything else open, close it all now. It's very helpful. Actually, let me get off the phone. I was out and about, so Bina and I were having fun going out, but let me get out of this. So I think that there we go. All right, so that was me. I was on twice. I was on the phone and the computer.
oh,
So that should help. Bina, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. I just wanted to hear it's all smooth. So All right, so let's hear. Justin has sent videos, and of theirs working on the buses. I don't know if you saw them too. Did you?
Yes, he's been
Yeah,
sharing with me.
yeah. So Vina said she thinks he's sending the videos to to show us he's busy and he's not gonna make it. So or he'll be late either way. So we'll get going. So he'll just have to
Yeah, he
catch up.
told me he has limited time when he's with Lauren over there. They're very
Yeah,
busy. So
yeah. But there's nighttime. The internet is 24 hours. Vina, Justin, it's 24/7 on the internet, by the way. So
yeah.
yeah.
Stay on him, Sil.
Oh,
Stay
I
on.
will. I will. He's looking to squirm out of this, but I'm not going to let him squirm out of it. Nope, nope, nope. Sorry, Justin. Sorry. You got to pull finger, boy. You got to pull finger, man. Come on. Did you
Yeah.
guys ever have a chance to get together and work on any of the sessions together and
Well,
getting him to do
we
his notes and takeaways?
we didn't, but we talked about doing it. I thought he was going to. He told me he was going to call and go over things with me, but he didn't. So
Well, I guess that, both of us will just stay on it. We'll just stay on it. Um, Justin is reluctant to get into it because I feel that he feels that it's going to show a side of him which is not a side maybe that he's gonna like seem like he's struggling or doesn't know or something like this. This is part of the
mm,
program, Justin. You're supposed to come in here and put everything aside. So this is the deal. You come in and you say I know nothing, which means you start fresh. You start like a child. You know nothing. So it doesn't matter what you knew before. It doesn't matter what was there before. It's irrelevant. You set it all aside. You start as if you're starting from scratch. So you start ignorant. You start knowing nothing whatsoever. So we don't care how relatively less you know now than you thought you knew. Doesn't matter to us. So I think this is what's troubling him a little bit, but I hope not. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see.
I'll try going over things with him when he comes back. I think he said he'd be back tonight. So
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, please, please. That'd be very important. And
yeah.
get him to do the repeat backs and the takeaways the way you're doing it on all the sessions that he's missed. It doesn't matter if he's behind. The way we have the setup, you can be doing one and then he can be doing the past one. It's no problem whatsoever. It's very handy, actually. More than handy, it's very helpful when people are different because then you're hearing stuff from ahead of you and it all makes sense. And anyway, then you get to go over it again. When you come there and you get to go over his stuff again. This is not stuff that you just do once. You need to go over and over it many, many times. So
Right.
it's actually it'll be very helpful. So when you do start, don't start where you at. Start at session one, that he can do the repeat backs and the takeaways on session one the way you did that. Very important, very important, very important. And then go through it, step by step. So doesn't matter
I
if he's
want
out of
him
sync. Yeah.
I want him to feel comfortable with me. So I've been working on getting him to feel comfortable with me first, and hopefully we'll get there this week, hopefully.
Right. So you see, you've done that. You've set aside. You say, look, I kind of knew stuff, but it hasn't really been working for me. So I have to set it aside and relook at this and come at it fresh. No, is that what you've been doing?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, I know he has a lot of people counting on him, and he's
Right.
much more busy than I am. But yeah, I've reached a point in my life where this takes precedence over everything
Exactly.
else.
Exactly.
I understand the importance and the benefit of doing this work, and I'm just trusting that by doing this and putting this as my priority, that the rest will fall into place.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That was cool, right? As you said, importance. Your necklace caught the little your pendant. It caught the light,
oh,
and it really shone. It was like it had its own light, right, Bina? It was very magical. Very magical.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's very cool. So yeah, so again, there's nothing more important than this, and we're not saying this because this is what we do. It's our program. We're saying this because of the value that others get on it, So, like
yes,
you're welcome to come and listen. Like well, Justin is like on Tuesdays and Thursdays are good days because we have 4 sessions in a row, So anytime from 8 o'clock onward would be good, or even earlier than that. But 8 o'clock onward would be good. And then you hear the different people doing it, because then you'll hear 3 different programs that people are doing right now, and you see the connectivity and all that, So yeah, just come, just listen. I don't mind. Nobody minds. It's all good, So sometimes people might come and listen to us. It's very valuable. It's very useful, and you get a different insight and to really see how people are doing it. But they make an effort to, like you, they make an effort to do it thoroughly, And everybody's different. Nobody does it the same, but you got to do it thoroughly. That's the key. How it is thorough for you. So, and you're doing that. You're doing that. It's very fantastic. So it's early days. So just keep going. Just keep going. It's very awesome. All right. So we're on module 2, session 1, or was there still some
Yes.
left over from? No, we finished with module 1, session 3.
Yes, we didn't go over my actions, but that was okay. I
Oh
did
no, let's hear your
no,
actions.
no, that's okay. I'll do them with Justin. I
Okay.
did
Like what do you
module
mean your
2.
action? You mean the tasks?
Yeah, my
Oh
tasks.
no, we gotta go over those. That's very important. Oh, those are huge. Those are huge. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we gotta. Yeah, it's very important. The sharing is very, very important. It's very critical. I mean, we need to know where you're at with this, and also the act of sharing it. It's further repetition, commitment, emphasis, and obviously things lead to more. And it's not just that I'm hearing what you did. It's about how it connects to stuff. You see, so always it'll stimulate things, and then we can customize pertinence and relevance. So it's massively important. Oh yeah, it's part of the whole thing. So. All right. So what was the task or tasks?
The tasks for module 1, session 3 was how are you motivated and by what?
Oh, this is critical. Gotta hear this. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I hadn't gone over it since last week, so I don't remember what I wrote.
Good.
But I know I was feeling emotional, so
Yeah.
okay. I am motivated by curiosity, passion, true beauty, and promises.
Nice.
Underlying everything I do is a desire to know a peace that surpasses understanding and getting things right. Even developing awareness is hopefully to find that place of ultimate peace and rest. It could also be called being rewarded or finding happiness or being complete. I was trained to be motivated by fear. Shame and anger were tools used to control and manipulate me that I have been deprogramming for years. I no longer feel the effects they used to have and am now motivated by hope and faith and a desire to know supernatural courage. I am motivated by creating order and functionality and helping others, especially the idea of innocent children needing a safe and permanent place to grow up healthy, strong, and free. I am motivated by seeing natural environments thrive, like in jungles untouched by man or pristine waters full with ocean life. I'm also motivated by seeing images of futuristic architecture, like your background.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And rendered versions of a new earth without pollution and disease. I am also motivated by romance, works of art, and music, stories of overcomers, and timeless love stories, especially the idea of happy endings like liberation and justice and equality.
Good.
That's it.
Good. Oh, that's fantastic. That's
Okay.
most beautiful and marvelous. Bina?
Yes, I'm struggling with the mic, so that's why I'm muting myself. But yeah, this is beautiful, really.
Thank you. So the next task was, how has an expansion of your awareness affected you, and how does it feel? You ready for this one?
Oh, I want to hear all these. These are essential that we hear them. They're very, very critical. Very important. I just want to share something before we move on to the next thing. Just quickly, just to add, just bonus for your magical motivation. There we go. Some futuristic architecture for you.
Ooh, oh, wow. That's amazing. Wow.
How cool is that? It's so fun.
Wow.
So I got tons of it. I got tons of it, but we don't have time for all of it. So
I look at that too. I'll Google images for hours sometimes, looking at
they're
that
all fun.
artists
Yeah,
drawings,
yeah.
and yeah, I love
Concept
that.
art. Yeah. Yes, I have all range of it. All varieties. So on Nobilia, it's a long story, but they have a range of architecture. And, it's too long to go into, but I was telling Bina about it. So another time, another time.
I love
All
it.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very exciting. Let's hear the next one. Yeah.
Okay. Experiencing expansion of awareness has altered everything in my life, from how I view myself and all my relationships to how I feel about participating in life and the impact my actions have on the world. It feels like an enormous gift and privilege, as well as a heavy responsibility with serious impacts. It did not just affect me, it transformed my reality to the point where the me I once knew and the world I used to live in, including the people that I loved, no longer exist. I swing between feeling humiliated to being blissed out in the ecstasy of knowing how all things work together perfectly.
Wow.
It feels like riding waves. It's exciting and fun a lot of the time. However, like signing up for the military, it is both an honor and a duty. Sometimes it feels like being on a throne. Other times it feels like being locked in a cage. It is comforting to have acknowledgments and answers when you want them. It seems worth it all when you have moments of bliss, but there is an underlying loneliness that seems untouchable. I am affected by a growing apathy that comes with eternal life and non-attachment.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Will you read
I
that
was
last part again, please?
I was
Bina, you
feeling a
want to hear
little
it again too,
emotional.
right? I'm assuming.
Yes, please.
The last part.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it feels like riding waves. It's exciting and fun a lot of the time. However, like signing up for the military, it is both an honor and a duty. Sometimes it feels like being on a throne. Other times it feels like being locked in a cage. It is comforting to have acknowledgments and answers when you want them. It seems worth it all when you have moments of bliss, but there is an underlying loneliness that seems untouchable. I am affected by a growing apathy that comes with eternal life and non-attachment.
It's that last sentence, the apathy that comes with eternal life. Do you feel that is necessarily so, or just you personally?
Do I feel that?
Yeah, that eternal life necessarily and apathy go together, because that's how your sentence reads. I don't think how you've written it is quite what you mean, but that's what I'm trying to find out.
Um, yeah, I think eternal life is sort of daunting. It kind of goes on forever,
Yeah,
and and yeah, it takes away some of the feeling when you know that
well, it
the
could,
cycle
it
the
could,
cycle
not,
just
yeah,
goes on and on.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. It
yeah.
could, it
I
may not
have those
necessarily.
moments.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't always feel that way, but that's what
Ah,
I was trying to say. Is I
yeah,
I swing between all of that.
yeah. Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, I
Okay,
love to hear
so
it. I love to hear it. Very, very cool. Very
you
cool.
want I'll
Keep
do
going. Keep
repeat.
going. Is
I'll
that
do
it
repeat.
from module one, session 3?
Yes.
All right. These things are very important. There's a logic to them. So you got to go through all these things. No, you can't skip any of it. So all important. All important.
Yeah, I just yeah, I'm now in the philosophy of takeaways, the
Excellent.
module 2,
Excellent.
session 1. So
Excellent.
I'll
Excellent.
do the repeat backs then.
Yes. Yes. So we're
Okay.
starting on module 2, session 1 now. Excellent.
Yeah. Extracting personal benefits is an essential perspective from interactions. Continually be aware of the personal value and benefits from takeaways. There are 3 types of takeaways: the ones to use and apply, the ones that come up inside of you, and the summarized versions that confirm understandings.
Yes.
What is most meaningful to you individually is a takeaway. Look for, write, internalize, and apply. These are the steps to use with significant information so it can change you. A point of understanding is relying on memory, but is not. A point of understanding is not relying on memory, but only what is most meaningful to you personally.
Yeah.
We apply meaningful takeaways by leveraging emphasis.
Yes. Yes. Very
Fully internalize what we learn by attaching importance and making it our own. Be careful not to just believe we get it, but demonstrate our knowing.
Yes.
A meaningful takeaway must lead to application, or else it is meaningless.
Yeah.
Making notes of associative takeaways is imperative. These are thoughts that are related and can be profound when explored.
Yeah.
Sharing and trusting the sharing process is huge. The value contained in everything is what we are learning by the practice of connecting to abstract conceptions. Validate our learning and assure ourselves by explaining back what we have heard and learned. The repeat back is sharing with intent of proving our new self and our learning is real. Actual real change and becoming different is what is most important. We focus on takeaways because it shifts the intent of what we learn to something we can use. Understanding and mastering topics and concepts comes from the desire to understand, not simply memorizing. It is important to want to be able to re-explain from a personal perspective. This is an essential test that leads to individual understanding and mastering a topic. Knowing and understanding is not the same thing as demonstrating. Takeaways are a demonstration of a personal understanding. Lasting learning and securing desired outcomes require proof of one's own individual demonstration through takeaways and application. Traditional learning methods may lead to inaccurate assumptions that can get you behind. Takeaways are an integral part of the learning process because it allows for the building of conceptions at your own pace, therefore ensuring the desired outcome by skipping no steps. Incorporate into the body your personal understanding. Prove your mastery of understanding by demonstrating and applying what has become incorporated.
Very important.
Engage in the joys of learning and growing by making takeaways part of our everyday way of living. Insist on extracting the more from life. Training the brain through making takeaways is a habit. Training the brain through making takeaways is a habit that transforms our lives.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Those are those.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love hearing these. You know, when I hear people say the things themselves, it's really magical. You know, it's very cool. All right, so now let's hear your takeaways.
All right. The proof and mastery of a concept happens when actual change becomes manifested in your life. This can only happen once new habits are put into action by living in a different way. By demonstrating your comprehension of a concept, you must first fully incorporate it into your body on a personal point of understanding. Making a meaningful connection to the information ensures you will not forget it and can easily access it when you want to share it.
Can you give us an example of something that like this, that's for you personally? Of like, especially a way of impeccability, a new concept or a new understanding that you've come to really really thought about and understand, and now that you're making an effort to apply it or are applying it and using it.
Well,
Read your takeaway again, and then think of it in that context. You know what I mean? Keeping in mind what you're
yeah.
doing yourself. So read again what you said.
The proof and mastery of a concept happens when actual change becomes manifested in your life. This can only happen once new habits are put into action by living in a different way. By demonstrating your comprehension of a concept, you must first fully incorporate it into your body on a personal point of understanding. Making a meaningful connection to the information ensures you will not forget it and can easily access it when you want to share it.
Right. So right there, making a meaningful connection to a concept. Of the concepts that we've covered so far, and there's more coming. You know, we're still in that sort of the laying the foundation. You know, getting the details out of the way. But is there anything you've made a meaningful connection to as yet? It's still early days, so doesn't mean you have to. I'm just asking.
Well, I think
Curious.
of many different things. You know, I'm learning to be able to define these concepts in a more personal way, but I'm also challenging myself to try new things.
Oh, like what?
And well, and just to apply abstract conceptions.
Yeah.
And so I was having a conversation with a friend the other day who I was talking about this class with, and he said, well, what is impeccability? What does it mean?
And what did you say?
And it's actually a word that I didn't have in my definition of power, so I didn't have like a readily accessible definition that I had come up with already. And so I explained it in my own words, having to do with...
What did you say, Lucia?
I said it's about knowing what your intent is and living in a deliberate way that's in alignment with your intents.
That's part of it, sure.
Which I think is actually just one small part of it.
Wow.
But and I told him that as well, that it's something that I needed to form an understanding of better.
Okay.
So
go over it. I thought you added
great.
it first, so we'll do it again. We'll do it. It's no problem. So it's your dictionary of power, by the way, not definition of power. I don't know if you just misspoke, but
oh yeah.
Okay. You have it as your file is named Elizabeth's Dictionary of Power. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
It's your dictionary of power. Not ours. It's yours.
Right.
Very important.
Yeah, I didn't have it in here, so
All right. So, first thing for impeccability is it's the best use of energy. So, in your own dictionary of power, write it in the first person. Best use of my energy. And this is capital E energy. We're not just talking about your physical energy. We're talking about your emotional energy, your spiritual energy, your mental energy, your energy of will and your power, all of these things, your personal power energy, right? Your juice, as it were. Yeah. Best use of that energy and your physical energy too. Any energy. Okay. So this is the key understanding. Impeccability is the best use of your energy. All right. What that entails, that's a different story, but just for the definition now, just to understand it. Impeccability is also being thorough, scrupulous, diligent, conscientious, etc.
Thorough, conscientious.
Conscientious, yes. Thorough, conscientious, diligent, and scrupulous. Right. So, in other words, no slacking, no goofing off, no half measures. If you're gonna do something, do it thoroughly. You know, do it scrupulously. And don't be messing about. Like this course, be thorough, be conscientious, be diligent, be scrupulous. Do it right. In other words, otherwise you just waste your time. Yeah.
Yeah.
which is a very poor usage of your energy, right?
Right.
Which means you're not going to be impeccable. See, it all loops around. It's very simple, really. It's the same thing with anything, you know, do it appropriately. Now, there are times where, as you know, as a mother, right, when you had your 3 kids when they were young, you're getting them ready for school, and it's, it's breakfast time. You're trying to you're making them lunch for school. You're trying to get them dressed and all this. You can't possibly do it all perfectly, yes, or as well as you would like to do, because you just don't have the time. You're behind. There's not enough time in the mornings to do all the stuff. So you make a lunch, just okay. It's a lunch. They can eat it. They won't starve, and it's fine. It's not the most perfect lunch, but it'll do. Okay, they're dressed. They're not maybe the neatest or or prettiest. No, it doesn't matter. You dressed. That's it, right? So in a situation like that, to do things in mediocre is actually appropriate. It's the best use of your energy, right?
Mm.
If you just made one kid and okay, you get the first kid already and they're all perfect, you got to find lunch. What about the other two? They're not dressed and they don't get a lunch because here's the bus. You see, so you can't always. So you have to balance, effort, reward, time, and energy. Balance them out. But this is again being impeccable is making sure all your kids get a lunch and all your kids are dressed. If they're not perfectly prettily dressed, who cares? It doesn't matter. You dressed. That's it. Okay, off to school. Bye. Right?
Right.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
best use of
remember those
energy.
days.
Best use of energy. Yes. Yes. In
Yes.
other words, sometimes to be mediocre is the best possible way to do something. The best use of your energy. Same thing. You had to work, and your boss gives you 100 tasks for the day. You do one perfectly, you get one task done. You do them all mediocrely, you get them all 100 done. Boss is going to be much happier with 100 mediocre tasks than one perfect task. They know you can't possibly do them all perfectly. It's not possible. See, so we have to really very understand this, that people think impeccability is being right or being perfect. No, there's nothing to do with that. Best use of energy. That's the best use of your energy in that situation where you're under time constraint. You need to get stuff done today, right? So you use your energy effectively. You do it mediocre. So mediocre is sometimes the best use of energy. Even poorly sometimes. A poorly dressed child is better than an undressed child, right?
Right. Yeah.
There you go.
Mm. Okay. That makes sense.
Now, all right. So furthermore, impeccability is also giving due respect to everything. Due, not respect. Due. Everything demands respect. Not everything deserves respect. Due respect is a different deal. So, you're a murderer and a rapist and a torturer and an abuser and whatever, you get the due respect that you deserve, which is nothing. You get disrespect even, right? That's what you do. Very simple. So, in this case, it's about when you give due respect to things, you measure the effort reward or you measure the appropriate usage of your energy. Right?
Mm.
To give respect to abusers, not a good use of your energy, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Right.
right. Exactly. Same with your children. Your kids being a brat. Yes, I love you, but you being a brat, you got to treat them as a brat. No, you treat them all as fine and beautiful. Oh, you wonderful thing. You're being a brat. Come on, be real. Due respect, right? You've probably seen lots of parents who, they mollycoddle, they baby the kids. They don't want to say a bad word to them ever because they think it's going to harm and ruin the kids. You don't have to
Mm.
say bad. You don't have to be nasty. You can just be real. You've been a brat. You don't have to say it in a horrible, nasty way. You can just say it factually, soberly, right?
Right. Yeah.
What you're doing is not cool for us. You're being inconsiderate, being rude. So due respect, right? Due
Okay.
respect, very
I like
important.
that.
If we don't give due respect, doesn't that mean make us dishonest? Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So due respect, very important. Furthermore, with impeccability, it's not about being right all the time. A lot of people think this is what impeccability means. Oh, you can't possibly be impeccable. Nobody can be right all the time. Guys, no, it's got nothing to do with that. Impeccability, it's about doing what is right according to your own conscience. Different matter entirely. Different matter entirely. right? So when we say conscientious, mostly people mean diligent and thorough, and you're kind of sticking to it, not slacking off. But if you take conscientious in the true meaning of the word, it is acting in accordance with your conscience, right? And this is what we mean by impeccability. You never, ever, ever overstep that line of your conscience. No matter what, you just don't go there. That's it. This is being impeccable. It's not difficult to do. It's not hard to do. It's not impossible to do. I know plenty people who have done this all their lives. Did it make them right? No. I know people who stayed in abusive relationships because they thought it was the right thing to do. Their conscience wouldn't allow them to leave the abusive relationship. They didn't want to abandon. They didn't want to seem disloyal, blah, blah, blah. So they were impeccable, even though it led to an inappropriate application of their goodness, right? Didn't
Yes.
make them any less impeccable. They were just, okay, but foolish in their impeccability, naive, innocent, in a bubble awareness, doesn't make him any less impeccable, right? So impeccability don't mean we can't make mistakes. That's what we need awareness for. But impeccability is acting according to your conscience. So never overstepping that. Very, very important. So yeah,
Mm.
it's very powerful. Very powerful, this point of conscience. Very, very far. You watch people who sell out and overstep the lines of their conscience. You probably know abusive people and BMNs, and BMNs are bullshit manipulator narcissists. It's just our term from the psychology of the superiority paradigm course.
Mm.
So, just gross people. They're super bullshitters, super manipulators, super narcissists.
Mm-hmm.
How do they live according to their conscience? They've long since thrown it out the window. They don't have it anymore. But they do. It still bothers them. That's why everybody to think they're good and nice and all this. They put on a good facade, but they're sold out, and it leads to all sorts of ridiculous stuff. Right?
Mm.
It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing when you abuse your conscience. A very terrible thing, and it really makes people suffer big time. And even those narcissists, even people that are really big time abusers, and that look at the criminals like the mafia that go to church and ask for forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why? Conscience. So impeccable is living according to your conscience, and of course it's just being honest, self-honest. That doesn't mean that if a murderer comes and says, "Where are your children? I want to murder them," you're gonna lie your ass off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, being honest is sometimes a strategic issue, but that's also, again, your conscience. How can your conscience possibly allow you to tell the murderer where your kids are? Hell no. You're not going to find out from me where they are because you want to go and harm them, right? No way. Yeah. So we have to understand. See, conscience will override your honesty in a case like that. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So we have to understand, sensibility and appropriateness. It all balances together. So you've got impeccability in the dictionary of power now. So add two other terms I mentioned here. Well, of course you have appropriateness, I think, already in there, right? I'm pretty sure. I think it's right at the start from last week, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
And then add inappropriate application of goodness. All with the hyphens, all capitalized. Each individual word capitalized. Inappropriate application of goodness. Like in the case of women who stay in abusive relationships, or not even an abusive relationship, just a terrible relationship, but they do so out of loyalty, out of caring, out of feeling sorry for the person, whatever. All inappropriate application of goodness. It's a big deal, this term, because
Yeah.
inappropriate application of goodness gets to the root of the issue, which is what we've already defined. Right? Look at any trouble, any problem, you see unawareness at the root of it. The sad part of it is, if you look at really good people, which you probably know plenty of, you're a good person, and you look at things that you did and that caused you trouble, and then you realize, oh my goodness, it was an inappropriate application of my goodness. I was trying to be good, but in an inappropriate way or in a foolish way. Yeah, like those people who stay in bad relationships. They're trying to be good. They're trying to be loyal. They're trying to stick. They're trying to claim, try to change them or whatever. They got all sorts of wonderful reasons. There are good reasons. They're sincere, but it's inappropriate. Yeah.
Hmm.
Very
Yeah.
important pointers. The inappropriate application of goodness is a huge deal because it connects to understanding how all the nonsense in your past isn't necessarily mean you're a bad person. No, actually, it proves that you are a good person most of the time. Most good people I know, or people that I know that are good people, and you look back on your past and you realize that you were doing things in this bubble. You didn't know better, you didn't understand, you didn't have enough awareness, but you were trying to be good, just inappropriately so. It shifts your understanding of yourself big time. Big time. Very huge point.
Mhm.
Yeah. Can you think of such examples for yourself?
Oh, well, I married an abusive alcoholic. Yeah.
And you stayed with him too long, I'm assuming?
I stayed with him way too long. And
Why? Why exactly?
yeah, well, because I was brainwashed and he manipulated me into thinking that if I left, I would be against God's will, for me. And yeah, I was loyal. I wanted to be loyal and fulfill my commitments, and
Exactly.
I was
He
hoping that
knew.
I could help
He knew
him.
you were a good person. And if he said, oh, it's going against God's will, as a good person, especially a naive, unaware good person, yeah, well, hell, I can't do that. Perfect manipulation.
Right.
He manipulated your goodness, not your
Right.
badness, your goodness. He didn't tempt you with saying, oh, like bribe you or say you can do. No, he didn't like corrupt you. He manipulated and leveraged your goodness.
Right.
So that relationship is proof that you're a good person. It's not very nice proof, but hey, the universe don't care about nice. They want you to learn. For you to know conclusively with actual real proof that you are a good person, indisputably, this is most precious. People struggle their whole lives to feel like and know that they're a good person. You've got conclusive proof.
Hmm.
How cool is that? Yes, it wasn't fun at the time, but it's a good thing to know now that you look back at that and you say, oh my God, I was naive, I was stupid, I was foolish, I was unaware, but
Right.
also I was good. Yes? Foolish doesn't make you a bad person, just makes you foolish. You were foolish because of your goodness. Yes?
Right.
Isn't that
That's true.
amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I wanted to be faithful and stay with him.
Exactly,
And I,
exactly, exactly.
hoped for the best and all that. But yeah,
Right.
I
But
can
please take
relate.
to heart what I'm saying here. It's a very important point. This as proof of your goodness. It's a huge deal. Huge deal. It's very, very important that you shift your
Mhm.
perspective, in other words. To not look back at that as some negative in your life. No, to look back at it as an actual positive. Your soul, your deep, your heart, your body knows now when you look at it this way that no, conclusively you can prove, say, hey, I was good. Despite all that nonsense, I still stuck to it. I didn't just bail at the first drop of a hat. It took a lot of doing to get me out of that. But I was there because of goodness. Finally, my sensibility caught up. Of course, we want to be good and sensible, which is why you're here, correct?
Mhm. Mhm.
But the goodness
Mhm.
part, this is conclusively proven. There's no doubt about that, right? We're not here to fix any badness. Nope, 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 nope. Nothing to fix, nothing wrong, nothing broken. No.
Mhm.
Unawareness is not a broken thing. If you add
Mhm.
more, upgrade your computer's processor, right, or its RAM, its memory, or whatever, the computer wasn't broken, it was working fine. Doesn't mean you can't upgrade it, right? See?
Mhm.
Same thing with
Mhm.
awareness. Just because we had limited awareness doesn't mean we're broken. We just had limited awareness. That's just life. You have to start off with limited awareness because you need to acquire awareness for yourself. You can't be given awareness. Then you'd be a program. Then you'd be a robot, and you would never be free, right?
Right.
So we have to acquire awareness for ourselves, which means we have to start off stupid. We have
Mhm.
to. There's no alternative. There's no way around it. If you started off all sensible and aware, they would have to get into you as a program, and then what? You'd just be a robot. You'd never really be aware. See? So
Mhm.
it's just the nature of things. It's just the nature of things. So being unaware doesn't mean make you bad, not at all. Just makes you unaware. That's all. There's no good or bad to it. It's just the nature of things. Now, compared to the universe, how aware is the most aware person in the world?
Compared to the universe?
Yeah, or to God, whatever you want to choose, Krishna, Buddha, Allah, anybody. Compared to to a deity or to the universe, how aware is the most aware person ever?
Not very much, probably.
Exactly, it's a fraction, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, if you were to put, if you've ever seen those things of like the Earth in its scale relative to the solar system, have you seen
Yeah.
those? And then it goes
Right.
bigger, and then the sun is this huge thing, and then they have the sun bigger than that, and then another sun, and eventually you can't even see Earth, right?
Right.
All right, now, if you remember those things, Earth was next to Jupiter there somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they first started, Jupiter is like, I don't know, 100 times bigger than Earth. It's this huge difference, right? Or our sun. But when you look at that whole picture, you can't see the difference between Earth and the sun or Earth and Jupiter.
Mm.
You can't see it. So it's the same with the universe, right? So our relative differences of awareness mean nothing relative to the universe. As far as the universe is concerned, we're all ants in terms of our awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. So again, relative. So again, it's about understanding your goodness. Goodness is a separate issue to awareness. Awareness is something we're always going to be looking to add, to improve, to fine tune, to enhance. But goodness is goodness. That's it. Goodness isn't more or less. It's just goodness. End of story. It's appropriate goodness. Okay, how you apply your goodness, how you use it, that's the issue. But your goodness, yours, is not in question. Right?
Mm.
There's no doubt about that. No question whatsoever. It's a very important
Mm.
point. Very, very important point. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate hearing that. Thanks. Yeah.
Oh, my pleasure.
I mean,
It's not about hearing it, it's about you knowing it. Now take what I said and say, okay, maybe let's pretend we're in like the cosmic courts of conscience, which tests whether you now really are like sincerely believe something or not. Okay, it's about your conscience here, about truth and accuracy. So okay, so I've made the case I've brought the case before the courts of conscience, and I said, the courts of conscience, your judges are the universe and Buddha and Allah and Jesus and whoever, Krishna, I don't know, those kind of characters, right? So there's no BSing in this court now. And of course, you can't help but be completely honest. So it doesn't matter though. You still need to resolve things. So I brought the case to say, you know what, this person down here, they might not think they're so good, but I know they're good, and I can prove it, and I just did. So now you might say, I want to make sure this is actually so. So what's your counter case to say, no, I'm not good?
for myself personally,
Yeah, take the opposite side of this discussion. Find the holes in my argument, in other words.
um,
Can you?
let me think. I mean, I agree with you. My intent was to be good. Um,
Right.
I mean, are we talking about this particular example of me being with an abusive man, or just anything?
In your whole life in general, okay, so we accept that you may have done some things at some point in time that you now feel are bad things to do, but at the time, did you know any better?
I was young. I was really young and
Stupid.
stupid. Yep.
And you had to learn by your mistakes, right?
Yes, yes. And yeah, I have to think about that.
All right, so let me ask you this now: how important it is, how
Yeah, I'm on the
necessary.
phone.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Okay.
How necessary is it that you actually made real mistakes?
Well,
And what does it prove? That the fact that you could make real mistakes.
I guess it proves that you're, human, and Yeah, it just proves that you're not perfect and that you want to learn and explore. And
What about your ability to choose?
yeah, free will.
Choices. Exactly. So, if you don't actually prove to yourself that you can make a real mistake, how do you know that your choices are truly free? In other words, how will you know that your awareness is real? If you can't possibly make a mistake, if all the choices you make always turn out right, and you have no chance of actually truly doing something bad or wrong, your awareness isn't very real. Your choices aren't very real. Yeah? That
Yeah,
doesn't prove you're a good person. It just means you got good programming. To truly be a good person, you have to know that you can make a mistake. You have to know what wrong is, right?
right.
So those wrong things or bad things that you did in your past were necessary for your development. Yeah, for your awareness, your proof is that, hey, this is a real deal here. When I'm choosing because I choose to have goodness, because I believe in goodness, because I want to have goodness, because I'm a good person. Not because I have to, not because I have no choice, but because I want to. This is what makes you a good person.
Yeah, the choice to be good means more if you choose it yourself rather than
Deliberately,
because, yeah, rather than just
out of
because you're programmed to, or
exactly,
that's
or
someone.
you're gonna get a reward, or you fear punishment. That's not real. That's not real.
Hmm.
That's just programming, right?
Right.
So even your mistakes were good. How about that? In the big picture, isn't that something?
Hmm.
You learned the price of making such mistakes. You learned how they affect your conscience, and you weren't very happy about those mistakes, right?
No.
Right, they bothered you and bugged you, right? What a magical lesson. The universe doesn't care how you learn, it only cares that you do learn. Very simple at the end of the day. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that the learning is real. Making mistakes is real learning. It's pretty humbling, isn't it? In a good way. Now, don't confuse humility with humiliation. Two different things, yeah?
Yeah, right. I know the difference.
I'm just saying, I always have to make that disclaimer because some people do mix them up a little bit, unfortunately.
I
So,
know.
so
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. That helps.
yeah, yeah. Makes you love yourself a whole lot better now, don't it?
What's that?
Makes you love yourself a whole lot better, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it does help connect to that loving source that, yeah, is there no matter what, that loves you no matter what, that is not judgmental, about right or wrong. And I think that's important for people to be connected to.
How about
Yeah,
making that source
except,
yourself?
yeah,
That's
right.
what we're working together. You, that source, really. No matter how much the source loves you, if you don't love yourself, all that love is wasted. You won't feel it. You won't be able to feel it. Yeah. Yeah. So all of what we were saying now, it's about you getting to at least appreciate yourself and enjoy yourself. You know, love yourself. Very important. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, all makes sense. It all makes sense. In other words, right?
it does. Yeah, it
Yeah, it does.
does.
It really does. It all makes sense. This is what we're about. This is what the way of impeccability is all about. It's about making sense of the world, making sense of ourselves, making sense of our connection and relationship to the world, finding tools of how to live and be and understand that we are good. And now it's a matter of activating that goodness and learning to use and to be good appropriately. That's it. No more inappropriate applications of goodness, at least if we can help. At least we're going to try. At least we're going to do things more with awareness and deliberation and have tools to deal with it. Look at impeccability. Just this idea, it's the best use of your energy. Just go around your day-to-day life and say, is this worth my energy? Not just in the things you're doing, physical things, but internally. Next time you're worrying and stressing and fretting about something, say, is this the best use of my energy? You're going to cut out all sorts of nonsense. Same as in your computer when you have all those open windows and you're starting to look, do I really need this window open? Nope. Close, 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 close. Close all those open windows and open tabs. They just suck your computer's energy. Same thing with stuff in your life, right? Worrying, stressing, fears, all the stuff. Even sometimes, hopes and dreams and wishes. Sometimes they're just vain hopes and dreams and wishes. And they don't belong to us. You should pursue fame and status. If you want to, sure, it's fine, but there's no should to it. For some people it's good, for others it's not. So you got to decide what's right for you. This is impeccability, giving due respect to your own true deep desires and motivations, not things that you think you should do. Should is a horrible, corrupting word. Terrible thing. Terrible thing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like the word at all.
Should is evil. Should is evil, because it corrupts our goodness.
Tell Justin he uses it way too much.
Yeah. No, Justin, you gotta cut that out, man. Should is a terrible word, because should is somebody else telling you what's good for you, and this is how you leverage people. Oh, I should do it, because if I don't do it, then I'm a bad person, because good people do what they should do, right? No, it's just corruption. It's manipulation. You don't know what's good for others. Only they can know. They have to decide for themselves what they do. We want also another nice power term to add there, independence of being. Again, with the hyphens and the capitalized. Independence of being. Okay. Mm-hmm. Independence of beings is what we're aiming for. That way you're never subject to should if you have independence of being. You decide what's right and good for you. And you have the tools to do so. You have the confidence to do so. You have the trust in yourself to do so. We need independence of being. So we aren't, subject to the whims of the world and influence of others and corruption by others and all sorts of stuff. Very important to have independence of being. Very, very important. Looking chocolates, and they got something written in the inside here. Keep life moving forward. Looking backward is only for time travelers. There you go. That's really what we do. We look forward. But we do even better than that. If you're only looking forward, it's also for time travelers. I can't travel into the future. I need to look now. I need to do now. I need to apply now. So, right?
Right.
Look now. Let's hear more of your takeaways, please, Elizabeth.
Okay. Emphasize your own understandings by writing down your individual thoughts and associative takeaways. Your perspective is unique, therefore most valuable. Connecting your own customized interpretation can help reduce intense getting lost in translation. Sharing your own words is a practice that can compound levels of understanding through abstract conceptions, which can be profound.
Wow, very cool. Very cool. That's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
We're taking these abstract understandings just of something like self-love, but we are connecting it all the way down into a practical application. Right? You can look at your day-to-day actions and say, I'm doing my best is what I know. That's being impeccable. Am I doing things that I know I shouldn't do? According to me, my own should. That's the only should that counts. No. Are you doing things that go against your conscience? I hope not. I kind of doubt it. But if you do, cut it out, because it's a really poor use of your energy, right?
I'm pretty hard on myself. Like if I eat, too many chocolates or, I'm really hard on myself.
But you have to be careful with those things, because there's a lot of that that's subjective, So we have to be careful. But I mean things that are like really that you think are wrong. You know, okay, eating too many chocolates you might think is an indulgence. I don't know if you see it as wrong. You know, as crossing your conscience, but it could do if you really committed to not doing it. Okay, but we get to decide. So.
Yeah. Well, then we can change our mind at any point.
It's why you do it. Based on what? There's the key issue. You know.
Yeah.
If you set up a criteria and say, well, and whatever that criteria is, if you get new information and it changes, well, it's a different deal. So many things are not just gray, but colorful. You know, they're not just black or white. They all got all the colors going for them. So kind of hard to know sometimes.
I think the area where it gets really hard for me to know is just in relationships. I think for myself personally, I can usually know what is best for me, and I make those decisions, and I'm usually careful now because I've learned.
Yeah, excellent. There you go.
But when it comes to relationships with other people, it's much more difficult to navigate. And I think I compromise sometimes. Yeah, it's, you know, recently I was dealing with somebody who I thought was doing something that didn't feel right to me.
Mm.
And I pointed it out, but not until after I had already participated in exploring it. So I felt like I was really flexible during the process of adjusting, you know, and deciding in the moment what was right. And it came across as not being able to make up my mind and a little wishy-washy.
Interesting.
But
Do you feel you were being wishy-washy, or you were just in a quandary and you just needed more time to figure it out?
yeah, I just needed more time to figure it out, and I needed more information to be able to make up my mind. And that's what I mean about relationships. Like, I know myself. If I have all the information, I can make a decision very easily. But people lie, and people only show you what they want you to see. And you know, I you know, discernment has been not always enough for me. I because I do trust people. I can be naive, and I can get taken advantage of, I think, because of that. And so I want to believe people and take them at their word, but I know that there's a lot of really slick, you know, salesmen out there who you know, will make it seem a certain way when it's actually something else.
Right. So in this case, you wanting more decision was not a wishy-washy thing, but an act of strength. Right? It takes strength to say, wait a second, I need more information. Because they're putting pressure on you. Decide now, decide now. They want to manipulate you. No, sorry. I'm going to take my time. You can call me wishy-washy if you like. I'm not going to change me because I'm not going to just jump into something for no good reason. I need to think about this. All right, so another really profound term for your dictionary of power is trust without trusting. Now, that sounds like a contradiction, but I'll explain in a moment. Okay? So, I'm assuming at least everybody I know has at some point or another watched some, you know, documentary on wildlife, and you see when the antelope go down, or the buffalo or whatever, they go down to the watering hole, right? And you see the lions chilling out there on the side of the watering hole, yeah, and they're just lying there, they just chill, and all the game are like checking it out, and then they go and drink, and they go pretty close to the lions, much closer than they normally go. Now, most people think that it's because because they're really thirsty, they have to go. Yes, that's a part of it, but also it's because they can read the intent of the lions. They see the lions aren't in hunting mode, the lions have eaten, they chill. So they know the lions are likely not going to be a threat to them right now because the lions are all chill, they're not in hunting mode, right? They can see that. So they can trust the lions. However, there's a point at which a line, and I call it the commitment line, they'll go closer, closer to them, but there's a certain point they won't cross no matter how thirsty they are. Because at that point, if the lion decided to attack them, there'd be no way they could get away, right? So they don't go past that line. Yes, they have a bigger line, which is their safety buffer zone, but the line that they'd normally stay away from lions is it's a very big distance. But that commitment line is a much smaller, tighter circle, right? So they trust, but without trusting. They never cross that commitment line, ever. No matter how thirsty or desperate they are, they can't. The instincts will not allow them to do it, actually. So this is, but in humans, we can override those instincts. Instincts are useful, but they're also very limiting. But as humans, we need to be aware of this and say, okay, I can trust you, but I'm not going to commit to anything because that's a commitment line. So you asking me to make a commitment based on limited information, I'll trust you just giving you the benefit of the doubt. But without further information, I'm sorry, no commitments from me. None. Nothing. So when you understand this difference between commitment and trusting somebody, okay, I trust you, but I can get away if I need to. Okay, no problem. I'm trusting those lines, but I'm keeping an eye on them too.
Mm.
I'm not being foolish, and I don't cross that commitment line. So this is a very powerful concept to trust without trusting. Very, very, very powerful. And if you think back of your on first dates, for instance, especially ones that and beginnings of relationships that didn't go well. If you think back, if you'd applied this trust without trusting back then, you would not have gotten into all sorts of things that were really commitments that you had no business committing to because you didn't have sufficient information, correct?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that when you do cross that commitment line, you need to be very, very sure you can trust. This is a
Right.
very profound, sacred thing. Now, that doesn't mean that you can still be wrong in those cases too, and it can get taken advantage of. But at least you went into it with your eyes open, and you knew, okay, this is the risk I'm going to take. But that needs to be a very impeccable decision. That's where our thoroughness and our scrupulousness and our diligence and our absolute persistence in making sure it's right, our impeccability, in other words, this is where it's crucial. Because this is a profound thing to trust at that level. Yeah?
Yes.
So, very, 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 very powerful concept is trust without trusting. It applies to
Mm.
so many things. So, next time you're in a situation like this, and especially when you're aware of it ahead of time, you don't get entangled right away. You kind of keep it at a distance and, okay, yes, maybe we'll meet. Not, oh, we will meet next time. Maybe. Let me think about it first. Maybe. I'm not committing to anything, possibly.
Yeah.
You don't even bring up future, interactions if you're in that state still. Just let it see where it goes. If you want to persist a little bit more, okay. You're not sure. You kind of put yourself in a situation where you can interact without any kind of a commitment. Like go to a joint party or whatever. If we're talking about relationships now, right? You see what I mean? There's many ways to do this. Once you're aware of it, that you need more information, you deliberately don't do anything that leads to entanglement or implications of entanglement or implications of a relationship. I see people get entangled into relationships right away because the other person just assumes and acts as if they're in a relationship. And the next thing they know, it's like, but I didn't sign up for this. I'm just here now. Oh, no,
Mhm.
no. Gotta be deliberate. Gotta be aware. Gotta be deliberate. Gotta be aware. Very important. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Very important. Very powerful. Very powerful. Bina,
Yeah.
you have anything to add on this?
Okay. First, I feel that we doubt ourselves in making any kind of decisions because of our past experiences when mm, we were wrong according to our current awareness. That okay, oh, I made some mistake, which I was and bear the consequences of that. So I'm not able to actually make good decision for myself or so others also. Okay, if in case. So the way of impeccability perspective in that first we have to understand that whatever decisions we were making at the time, that was according to our awareness at that time. We were
Yes.
impeccable even in our mistakes.
Yeah.
We were doing that with our goodness.
Yeah.
We made those mistakes impeccably according to our awareness at that time.
Yeah.
And if we made some mistakes, okay, we were not aware of. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing more than that. Because this thing that, oh, I made some mistake is create a guilt and also shame, and then okay, a lack of confidence, lack of self trust, that we are not able to make any appropriate decision for myself right now. So first we have to, I think, remind ourselves that at that time, what decisions we have taken was according to awareness we had at that time.
Exactly.
We were not stupids, we were not bad people, we were just
Yeah.
impeccable, and we made some impeccable choices according to our awareness at that time.
Right. Right. It's all
So
dependent on our
it,
awareness.
yes, and
Now.
it resolves so many things now in our present. Like, okay, now if we are in a situation and we don't want to say anything to anyone, okay, why we don't want to say? First thing is lack of self trust, again, and the second thing is that we don't want to hurt people. Okay, yes, it seems like okay, it's a very good thing that we don't want to hurt people. But what will be that? Okay, if I just assume that someone wants you to be in a relationship and you are not clear, you don't want to, and just by thinking that oh, it might hurt him or it might hurt her, and they will feel like really frustrated and all that, and you just accepted that. How long you can do that? So we might end up by hurting them more
Exactly.
to avoid this temporary pain or suffering or whatever.
Right. And what
It
about
is
yourself? End up hurting yourself more
exactly,
too.
yes. So exactly, it is about goodness. So first we have to think it through to the end,
Yeah.
as again another perspective of way of impeccability. And the second thing is when we say that way of impeccability, sorry, is giving due respect to everything and everyone. So everyone includes us also. We
Oh.
have to give due respect to ourselves also. And I think that first we have to give ourselves due respect to what you are feeling. And just before that, Elizabeth, you were sharing about how to incorporate all these things and feel them in your body and feelings with your feelings. When you are not feeling good, how this situation can be good for you in future. When your body is telling you that something is not right, I'm not clear, I'm still confused, I want to know more. Yeah.
Powerful. It's powerful. Now, when we look at back at our past, and we say, you know what? I did my best at the time, but can I improve on my best? In other words, at that time, was I as scrupulous as I could have been? Was I as thorough as I could have been? Was I as diligent as I could have been? Was I as careful as I could have been? Did I kind of know I should, wait a little bit? Was I too eager? Was I too desperate? Okay, usually those are yes answers when we've done poorly in the past. So we say, okay, I can improve my impeccability. I can learn to do this, as best I can, and to be thorough and to be diligent and to go and do my homework and to wait when it's necessary to wait and not to rush when it's needed to rush, to be courageous when it's needed. So we can learn, and we do learn. We make an effort to learn. So it's very important, very important. So, when you look back at things like this, you see how so often, desperation, especially if we're talking about relationships, oh my goodness, desperation is a disease of futility. Gets you nowhere, right? Most of the time, okay, never mind. I'm not saying you now, but just in general. Look at your friends' bad relationships, right? Yeah, and look at when they were desperate and how they got into it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's never good. Never a good outcome.
Never, never. Desperation always leads to just intense trouble. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, and now when you think of making choices out of desperation, how impeccable is that? Any decision made out of desperation is almost never, and I'm not talking about like true desperation where starving or dying or whatever. That's a different matter. I'm talking about emotional desperation, the psychological desperation. Those are never an issue where you really absolutely have to, you know. Uh, but when we look at this, like people are desperate to get into a relationship, that's not impeccable, not even close, not even close.
Yeah, well, I've been single a very long time.
Good for
So,
you. Good for you. Good
yeah,
for you.
I
Yeah, yeah. No, be diligent, and if you now, for the most part, most people think they need to be in a relationship. And where does this idea come from?
I don't know.
Exactly, exactly. There's nothing that
I
says you have
don't
to be.
know.
Nothing that says you have to be. If you want to, sure. If you don't find the right person, then don't. With relationships, this second best is not good enough.
Right. No, I
Sorry, it's
absolutely
not.
agree with that.
It's not.
But when I brought up relationships earlier, I'm talking about relationships in general, just
Right, right.
with people, with friends, with
Yeah,
coworkers, roommates,
yeah. No, I heard you when you were
all
saying
of
that.
those
Yeah,
things, not just in
right.
romantic relationships, which is sort of a whole different
Yeah,
level of complexity,
yeah,
that I'm also really interested
yeah,
in, because I have made some mistakes in those
yeah.
relationships that I learned a lot from, and I don't want to repeat.
Right.
But just relationships in general with everybody, it becomes um, something that you're comparing your own set of standards against somebody else if you're doing something together. And that's where I can get caught up in making compromises that I normally wouldn't do.
Yeah.
uh, and so, like I shared before, it caused me to become real isolated for a long period of time, or only hang out with just a few people that I knew I wasn't going to have to make those
Yeah. Yeah.
compromises. And now, because I'm growing awareness, I'm expanding, I want to try new things, I want to, branch out and, go to a different level. I'm having to explore what it's like dealing with other people that do things very differently than I do.
Excellent. 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 And there's no reason you can't. You just have to do it as an explorer, not being committed. And you really, if you're an explorer, right? Trust without trusting. That's your middle name. You're looking at that tree that's fallen across the river, and it's in flood. You better make sure that tree's stable before you actually go over there. You got to test it out, before you commit to it. Now, okay, if the
Yeah.
lion is chasing you, you're going to run across that tree like crazy. But okay, different story. But we seldom in situations like that. And especially, yes, and everything I was saying about relationships applies, whether it's a casual relationship, a new person you're meeting, or a romantic relationship. Makes no difference. The same thing. It's just matter of degree. But yeah, just that same trust without trusting. Just look at everybody and just apply that same logic. You don't know if they're a lion or not. You gotta wait and see. Yeah.
Mm.
Because human lions can disguise themselves, so you got to be careful. You're dealing with different kind of a lion, right? It's very obvious when a lion is a lion. Hey, out in nature, it's very simple over there, but humans not so simple as right?
Right.
So you'll be you'll be surprised. So in any relationship, ask yourself just one question. When you look at somebody, and actually do this as an exercise before I even say the question. Picture somebody in the past that the very first time you saw them. Pick anybody, don't matter. And your camera went off. All right. So picture somebody that you met and that you got to know well. Okay. And the very first time you saw them, if you can picture somebody nice and clearly, find somebody that you can remember clearly the very first time you met them. Yeah. Can you picture them?
Yes.
Okay. So now ask the question in this specific way. What is the intent here? Not what's their intent, what's your intent, what's the intent here, which means all of those, including universal intent. You are asking a question about intent in general. So now you say, okay, what's the intent here? And what comes up in you when you ask that question? Keeping that picture of the person in mind.
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Whose intent? What is
That's my
the,
point. It's what is the intent here in this interaction. The intent means it's an open question. In that the intent, we are going to say what's the intent of the interaction itself, which is what's the universe's intent, what's your intent, what's their intent, what's the intent of the environment. There's lots of intents. That's why we ask it in that open way. We want to get all of those intents, not just one single aspect, right? You might be in a pub, in a party, and there's an intent of the party. Let's say it's an orgy, and that's a very particular intent, right? Now that's going to influence that particular relationship. Or it's like an intellectual party, and people it's like, oh, I want to get romantic here, but no, this is all about discussing ideas and concepts and stuff. Different intents that will conflict. Then you see. So then you can say, what was my intent? I went to the party because, well, I want to engage in intellectual conversation. What's their intent? Well, this person just wants to get laid. See? Different intents. So now that's why you ask that question in that way. You want to connect to all of those intents, not just one single, because if you only connect to one, you can get a distorted picture. Okay? So when you ask that, picture that person again and say, what's the intent here? What's the intent here? And keep all the things. Now it's my intent, their intent, the situation's intent, universe's intent. Uh, Yes, all sorts of intent. So what comes up for you when you ask that question of this person that you've got in that you can picture now, that you've got in mind?
I was thinking of multiple people.
Pick one. You can do them
Pick
all one
one.
by one, but do them one at a time.
Um, well, so the first one I was thinking of, we met, and the intent was, I thought, just to get to know each other.
Now,
Yeah.
if you picture them and you ask that question and you're looking at them with the intent to understand, okay, you had an intent, you thought it was a communal intent, the intent was to get to know each other. But what was their intent at that time? If you look back now, if you picture them and you look at them to say, okay, now I'm looking at what's their intent also specifically. What do you get? Did they have a similar intent or not?
Yes, I think they wanted to get to know me, but I think they were also testing me. Yeah.
Interesting. And testing you how?
To see what I knew.
Interesting. Wow. So they had an extra intent going there. That's a very specific and a deliberate intent, and kind of in a way, it's at least seems to me. I'm just guessing now. It seems a bit manipulative, or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you ask that question, right? You get answers that you see it now that you didn't necessarily see it then. Yes.
I mean, I think I did on some level, but it
On
feels
some
different
level. Yes.
talking about it.
Yes. Yes. That's why I ask this question, because we kind of do know, but we aren't paying attention to ourselves, and we hear those little red flags come up, but you suppress them because you think that your intent, well, I'm trying to be good, and you give the benefit of the doubt, and we are willing to cross that commitment line. But if you weren't willing to cross it, and you had a little bit of reserve, you say, well, I better make sure the intent is cool. You would ask that question, and those little red flags that come up, you would recognize them, and you say, nope, 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 and that's it. Yes, the other thing that people do is they ignore the red flags.
Uh-huh.
How many red flags did you get in that particular relationship?
Oh, that is a classic move for me. I'll get the red flag and I'll just whiz
So,
right past it.
right. So what is the point of a red flag?
Warning.
Oh, no. That's a white flag or a yellow flag. A red flag stops the race.
Oh.
Red flag stops the race. That's it. Seriously, that's in racing. A red flag stops the race. Yeah. No,
Wow.
racing. You red flag. Nope. That's it. It's too dangerous to carry on. Red flag. Yeah. You get a red
Well
flag.
then.
Only one is enough. That's it.
Well then, what's wrong with me that I'm so curious that I would keep going past the red flags? Why would I keep doing that?
It's not that something wrong with you, something right with you. You like to be curious, and you're willing to pay a high price for learning. All right, fair enough. As long as you know what you're doing and you do it deliberately, it's okay.
Mm.
Yeah, you want to learn. You want to learn. You want to know. So it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Well, are you sure? I mean,
Again, it depends how cautious you are and how sensible you are and how strategic you are. If you want to learn, then do it deliberately, do it strategically, know what you're going into. If you now that antelope that's going closer to the lions, know you're going to go and check out and see how close you can go. Okay, that's fine, but be aware so that you're ready to jump out. Again, don't be committing yourself. Yeah. So it might not be that it's out of curiosity. It might have been out of desperation too. Many people are desperate for relationships, and they grab the first thing that comes along. Anybody who shows them but any interest, and it's more or less fits the package, more or less, they say, "Oh, here we go," and you go for it. So it takes a lot to say, to really be discerning, and when you get that red flag, to say, "Nope, sorry, next," because you're going to go through a lot to do that. So, but at least we think so. The universe is going to test you to see if you're for real in what you want. Right? So if you're just willing to settle and ignore the red flags, why should the universe bring you an upgrade?
right.
No. It needs to know that you actually have the ability to be with who you actually wish to be with.
But at the same time, it feels like there's something to extract out of each of those opportunities
Oh,
first.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But that's my point. If you're going to go into it for the learning, do so with your eyes open and do so deliberately. And to say, I know this is a bad relationship, but I'm going into it to learn. Right? If you go into it with that point to learn, you're going to go into it like a scientist, kind of, in a way. And
Right.
so you're not really going to be burned when the thing collapses and the person turns out to be horrible. Say, well, I kind of expected that, but I'm learning how to deal with them. Okay, not a problem. It's being deliberate. That's why Wave Impeccability is about deliberate living. Living deliberately, it's a huge deal. Changes everything, because then when things go FUBAR, you say, well, I know they were going to go. I'm not complaining. Okay, that's it. I'm out of here now when they do go bad, right? But I learned, I got lots of value, and I'm happy with the effort versus the reward. Yeah. So I don't
Okay.
feel bad. I don't feel a victim. I don't feel terrible. I was doing it on my terms. No problem with that. No problem at all. No problem at all.
Except if you're doing that to somebody who isn't doing that and they're believing you,
Well, you
then
can
that,
tell them too. You can just be straight up. I mean, I assume you'd be impeccable and just be honest. Say, hey, I don't know where this is going. I can't see it. So for right now, it's just day by day, or week by week, or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I have my doubts, but we'll see. In the meantime, we can have fun. All right. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's no problem. You can be straight up.
well, I think I would, I think I'm honest now. I'm thinking of times before when I was led on by others who were maybe going through it from that other perspective, but leading me on thinking that they maybe meant more than they did.
That's most of the time, most guys that are just looking to get into your pants, that's exactly what they do. They always try and make out that they're small.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the game. Now, relationships, whether they be romantic or not, are still the same. People let on that there's value for you in knowing me because they want something out of you and all of this. So, it's part of relationships, it's part of the world. So just go into it with your eyes open. You can get value out of it regardless of what they want to do if you set yourself up strategically. No matter what they want and how they want to do. So you can get value out of it no matter what. Mhm. Let's say somebody is out to just let's say they're trying to get to know you and be friends with you because they want to get some money out of you in some way. Okay, but they're really good at making you feel like they like you and they enjoy you and they're a good friend. You can go into that and say, I know that they're completely full of it, but they make me feel good. And I'm not going to give them a cent and I'm not going to trust them further than I can throw them, but I'm going to enjoy the feeling I get from it. I'm enjoying their attention. I'm enjoying them thinking and saying nice things to me and giving me attention. I'm going to treat it as if it's for real. Knowing it isn't, I'm going to get the value. I'm going to enjoy it for as long as I can. Okay. I know it's not going to go anywhere, but doesn't mean I can't enjoy it in the meantime. You can just do so deliberately. Many different perspectives on things. Many different perspectives. We don't have to do the conventional stuff. So you can go to the eyes wide open and enjoy it. Whether they're trying to lead you on or not makes no difference. You just assume they are, or if you're not sure, and you enjoy it for as long as it goes, but you don't make the commitments. That's the key point. Don't commit. Don't commit to anything.
Mm.
Don't get sucked in. Don't be moving in, or don't be, like, okay, let's say just a regular friendship. Don't get so entangled that you're like forced to go to their house every second day, and all this kind of stuff. No, keep it in a situation where it doesn't get entangled. That's commitment, entanglement. So that if you decide to leave it and say, not today, it's not a problem. So you set the terms. You be strategic. You make it work for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very cool. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's something to think about. So, part of our impeccability is also being strategic. Right?
Mm.
So, when we say best use of energy, isn't that strategy?
Uh-huh.
Kind of the same thing, right? Okay, strategy is being a bit more deliberate in specific circumstances. It's thinking ahead a little bit. It's looking at all your options and weighing them carefully and setting yourself in such a way that things work out in your favor no matter what. This is the ultimate strategy, right?
Mm.
So learn to be strategic. Learn to be strategic. When it comes to relationships, strategy. Matter of fact, everything is strategy. Without strategy, we're kind of sitting ducks, no?
Right.
Kind of lost before we get started. So very powerful strategy. Very, very, very powerful. Huge, huge, very big deal. Strategy. So just be strategic in your relationships, and also, this. Just if you find that you're struggling to find relationships, just shift your circles. You know, step right out of it, because typically we look at people who are new people coming into your circle. But if your circle has a particular vibe, let's just say you hang out with pot smokers, just for argument's sake, right? You're going to have a particular type of person coming through that circle.
Mm-hmm.
Likely 90% of them are also pot smokers or they're dealers. That's it. That tends to be the nature of the relationship, and the circle and the environment with a group of pot smokers. You've probably seen this, right? They tend
Mm-hmm.
to be someone. So that's what you're going to find. There's a limitation to that group, in other words. Now, it's an extreme example, or people who drink a lot. They're drinkers, same thing. They have a closed circle, and pretty much if you're not a drinker, you're not part of that circle. So there's limited options, in other words. So if you're not finding the people now, okay, I'm not saying that this is the case in your case, obviously, but also it applies in this is a very clear cut case, so it's very obvious. But there are more subtle things that happen with some groups, that keep them together and that will prevent others from coming into that group who you may want to be with. So make an effort to go and be in groups that are completely outside of the groups that you're typically in, completely unremoved and disconnected, so that you can see what else is out there. Otherwise, you're only going to see stuff that's similar to that group in some way or another. Limited
Mm.
options, in other words. So, yeah, very important. Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And be picky and choosy, to find real friends. It's not an easy thing.
What would you say about not wanting to um, go into relationships or friendships with people to learn, um, in context of growing awareness? If you are not interested anymore in learning in that way, but you just want things to be a little easier and more comfortable, what do you say about that?
Are
Is
you looking
that
to get out of a relationship or stay in the relationship and just shift the nature of the relationship?
I mean, what if I decide that, I've been learning enough this difficult way. I don't like feeling tested. I don't like
Get
all
out.
these red flags and these people who are doing things
Oh,
in
if they're
ways
red flags, oh, then you
that I
should have
don't
been out long
like.
ago already.
Then
Like
I want to
this.
meet people who are more, what I like. Um,
But
would that
I'm not
would
understanding the problem here. Why don't you just get out? I mean, you don't enjoy this. You're not getting value. This. Why are you in the relationships?
to
To learn?
learn? Yeah, like
Do you
to
think you
get
can you
to.
can learn in nicer, more enjoyable ways?
Mhm.
You don't have to learn just from them. You can learn in many ways. I mean, you're learning right now, and in the relationship that you have with Bina and I, you're learning. Yes, Bina.
But still, as far as I understand, that Elizabeth is trying to say that what if we just forget about the learning process and see that okay, somehow someone is getting some kind of benefit out of that relationship, even though they see the red flags, but still, okay, they just wanna okay make life a bit comfortable, wanna spend time there. So it is about effort reward now. That okay, what you are getting and what you might have in
Yes.
future. So Elizabeth, for me, it is like okay, yes, it might be an appropriate choice in some specific circumstances, but I think that we have to consider, we need to consider the effort reward, that what could be and what would be in longer term these consequences of after even having all these red flags and everything, because it is not like okay you just saw something and you can ignore. Yes, you can ignore on surface, but it's gonna be there, it is real, and all your decisions in future and everything will be affected by that too. And as again we say, awareness is contagious. When you are seeing and understanding all the red flags and still you are making compromise, it's this awareness is going to be projected on others too. So
Yeah.
it's a manipulation over over manipulation, and it is going to compound, and it can be might be a big mess
Oh yeah.
in my understanding. Yeah.
Can you find the learning elsewhere? Is that the only way you can get the learning?
Well, for instance, I was in a relationship online with a man
Mm.
for a long time,
Wow.
and I knew that he was manipulating me and not telling me the truth. I knew it the whole time, but
Oh,
I stayed in it because there was an exchange of learning, and um, I don't know how else I would have learned that if I hadn't have had that
right.
relationship. And and it still is a problem for me because get any I didn't get anything out of it that I wanted,
Mm.
you know
I see. You
and
didn't get the learning?
I got learning, but it just opened up a can of worms. It just, um, there was no closure. There was no fulfillment. It's just been,
But you knew what you were doing, so really, it's like you knew
well,
the choices,
I
no?
knew, but I didn't know. I
Oh,
knew, but I didn't
well, now you
have
know.
enough information, and it was just being curious that got me in it, and has led me down this path, to explore more, because I keep thinking it's going to lead to something that I want, but I think the truth is I don't know if I want it or not, because I don't have enough information.
Truth is, it's not going anywhere. That's what you said already. But you keep hoping it might.
Yeah,
I mean, you're trying to make an untruth into a truth.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you seem like you're but pot committed here.
I'm what?
Pot committed. It's a poker term. Some poker wisdom.
What
Some
does
wisdom
that
in
mean?
poker. So this means, you're sitting with a bad hand. Well, you thought it was good, and you keep raising the bet, and the betting goes around, and you keep putting in. But then as the rounds go around and around, you realize, I've got a losing hand here. But you don't want to chuck your losing hand in because you've already put a lot into the pot. You're kind of committed now. So you keep adding into the pot because you're hoping somehow magically your hand is going to turn into a good hand. But it's a losing hand, but you don't want to give up on your investment, the time and energy that you put into the sand. But it's a losing hand. How much you put into it in the first place, up to that point, it doesn't change the fact that your hand is a losing hand. See?
Huh.
So people get caught in this pot commitment, and when you see somebody who is pot committed, of course you just keep egging them on, and eventually they give you all their money. So they got a losing hand and they can't get out of it. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because they feel like they don't want to give up on all the investment that they put into it, so they can't throw that hand away. But what you put in before, it doesn't change the reality. The moment you realize that your hand's a losing hand, you got to throw it away and not throw good money after bad. You can't keep investing in your hand. It's not going to change it. It's going to still be a losing hand no matter what you do, right?
Hmm.
You don't want to give up on this relationship because you put a lot of time and energy into it. You don't want to say, "Oh, I've wasted all that time." But have you? Have you learned stuff from it? Have you learned from this relationship? Or at least make a list of what you've learned. How about that? Try that out. Make a big long list of all the things you've learned from this interaction.
Hmm.
Right. Do you have effort reward in your dictionary of power?
Uh,
Effort reward is a profound, Bina mentioned it there. Profound power term. Definitely belongs in any dictionary of power. This is a calculation. It's how we determine best use of our energy. Right? When we're being impeccable, one of the things we can do is many things, but this is one of them. We can say, hey, um, is the effort worth the reward?
well, there was no way of knowing that at the time that I
Now,
became involved.
is the effort now worth the reward?
How do I know what the reward is
That's
if
the
it
question.
keeps
That's the
elude?
question. Yeah, is the effort worth the imagined or anticipated reward then? If you don't even know there's a reward, then is it worth making an effort for a potential maybe reward? See what I'm
Well,
saying?
that's the question. Yeah, if I knew that there was a reward and that it was a guarantee, then yes. But if it's just an imaginary tool that is like a carrot, in front of the,
Why?
it then absolutely not. But
Wow.
I have no way of knowing if
But you have doubt.
I have, well, but yeah, but that's part of
Yeah,
it. That's
you have
part of the
lots of doubt.
process.
You have more doubt than usual, no?
Um,
You said there were red flags. How come you're in a
Well,
relationship where there are red flags? Is it really worth it to persist on something that may be happening? And is the value that you have been getting out, is it worth all of this doubt and debate and worry and stress and anxiety and whatever else is going into it? If you were
it,
to get what you think you might get, would it be worth it?
yeah,
What is it that you think you might get out of this?
the answers that I want.
Oh, like what kind of answers? I'm most curious now.
Well,
Because
yeah,
you
there.
said earlier you had a bunch of red flags, and this is causing you stress, this relationship, yes?
Oh, the most stressful thing ever. It was very painful. It's not going on any longer.
Oh, oh,
It's
oh,
been over for a long time,
oh,
but
oh.
yeah, it made me so curious that I just would do anything.
Curious about what?
Um,
Trying to understand a bit more. I need more specifics. Sorry, I know I'm getting personal, but it's important to
yeah,
kind of at least figure out. I mean, what is the curiosity about?
we had a connection like I had never experienced before. It was seemed very supernatural.
Wow.
Yeah, it affected things in my reality that I had never seen happen before. And it was quite a mystical experience.
Wow.
And so I wanted to know how that could happen and what it meant. And I was imagining all kinds of things, and I wanted to know if any of them were true. And I had, confirmations and things that became very obvious.
Wow.
Uh, but nothing ever really happened
Mm.
besides just a growing awareness. And it was like very much like a scientist, doing experiments and treating me as if I was you know
But you
a
need to be the
lab.
scientist.
Right. Well, and in a way, I guess I felt like I was, because
Excellent.
I was aware of that other side and
Yeah.
acknowledging, that I was, willingly participating in it. But
There you go. So just now take responsibility for your decisions and be at peace. You
and just
knew
let it
going
go.
into it that it might end up not to be. You knew all the time, you knew it might turn out to be a lot of nonsense, but you're getting real value. So a scientist gets value out of any experiment they do, not only ones that yield a positive result. Every failure is very valuable to a scientist. They don't have failures, they learn. And that's the nature of experimenting and doing tests. You find out what works and what doesn't work. All results are valuable. All of them are valuable.
Yeah.
None are more valuable than others. You need to know where it doesn't work and where it works. Otherwise, your test is flawed. You're only seeing one side of it. So,
Well, for a long time, I thought it was leading somewhere. That's the problem. And then I realized that it wasn't.
all right.
So for that period of time, I was, programming my mind to actually achieve something.
Now,
Yeah. And so I had to sort of grieve that part, um, and adjust, which is, something I guess I'm still doing.
update and learn and grow and apply. So,
Yeah.
really, I would really recommend it. Do you have more on your takeaways there? Because I want to shift to this as a task. Well, we can
Okay.
carry time. Just make a note of where we are if there's more. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I have quite a few more.
Okay, good. We'll do it next time then. All right. So, as a
Okay.
task on this relationship, make a list of what all you wanted to get out of it from the beginning, all the way through. Then make a list of what all the value you did get out of it. So second list, what you actually got. First list is what you wanted to get. And then the third list is all the list of all the stress and hassle and bother. The price list, in other words. The cost, the effort.
Okay.
It's going to be very helpful because then you can make that balance and say, you know, what is it that I'm unresolved about here? What am I not at peace with? Because you're looking to be at peace about all of this, yes?
Yeah. I
And
haven't been able to put it behind me yet.
yeah, I mean, it just sounds like you're not facing the awful truth here, you know?
Right.
Isn't that the issue? You would have liked it to be something. You were hoping it would be something you really wished deeply and desired it to be something, but in reality, it never ever was that. And now it's just
Right.
a matter of admitting it. That's why you got to make the list of the price. So maybe make a fourth list, which is the truths, positive and negative truths, actual truths, real truths, not
I wouldn't know
beliefs.
what those are. I don't think.
Try as best you can. You can even give them a probability. You can say, okay, 100%, 90%, 70%, 80%.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I'm sure that'll be.
That'll keep you going. That'll keep you going. But keep going. We'll do next time. I mean, just keep at it. You know, keep persisting and doing it.
Okay.
Lots more will come. Lots more will come. It's early days. There's a lot more to come. So just stick with it. Stick with it. This is very exciting. This is very exciting. It's very exciting.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's very exciting. It's powerful stuff. It's nice that you have something actually real and tangible like this that you can work with. You know, sometimes people don't have specific things and that they can actually put all of what we're talking about and apply it to that. So, yeah, yeah. I mean, just look at that entire relationship at the end of making all of those lists. Look at it in terms of energy, right? Energy management, energy usage, best use of your energy. You know, look at it through this lens of impeccability. And also appropriateness, you know, look at it through all of the terms in your dictionary of power and kind of see, oh, inappropriate application of goodness or trust without trusting or whatever, all the terms you've got in there and apply it when you think it through and really think it through deeply, you know, and really like kind of, you know, let go of the ideas and beliefs and look at more at what is. Now, you don't always know what the truth is, but you know the truths about your feelings and your hopes and your desires and your wishes, you know. So, very powerful, very powerful. Brilliant, brilliant. Hello, Donna. I'm glad you get to meet Elizabeth. Very cool. Donna's. Oh, don't go, Donna. Or is her connection not working? Maybe she doesn't have a good connection. All right. Well, I hope she comes back. I'm keen for you to meet her, but if not, no worries. No worries.
Okay.
So this is exciting. You know, like I said, look at it through this lens of of um, of impeccability and all your terms in your dictionary of power. Apply them to it, leverage it, make it, use it to focus on it and give you different perspectives. And really think about it, think it through, and come to some resolution. And you'll see when you make those lists, it's going to help a lot. Really shift your perspective big time. Will help a lot. So,
Hmm.
very cool. Very cool.
Okay.
All right, so we'll work on Justin in the meantime,
Okay.
much as we
Yes.
can. Much as we can.
All right.
Yeah, he's getting behind. We're getting behind.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, all pleasure.
Yeah.
No worries. I'm trying to get Donna to come back on, but I think she doesn't want to meet anybody. So, all right, never mind.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Then I'll
We'll see you on Sunday, yes?
see you on Sunday. Okay. Thank
Yes.
Yeah.
you. Have
All
a
right,
good
pleasure.
time. Bye
Pleasure.
bye.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye, Elizabeth. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, there you go. Perfect timing. I was hoping you were gonna say hi to Elizabeth and just meet her a little bit. She gets to know other people. She's never met anybody else, involved. So,
Hello, Donna.
hello, Donna.
Hello.
Hello, 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 Donna. Oh, I'm pleased you're here. I'm pleased you're here. I'm pleased you're here. So, very good, very good. All right, Donna. So, let me get a handle on what you were saying earlier, because I want to just hear it again, Donna. Like, where you at? What's going on for you? What's happening?
Nothing. Everything's good.
Oh, oh, okay.
I'm
Well,
kidding.
hey, sometimes learning, it might not be nice, but it's definitely good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Always, 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 always. So, in terms of the replacement, Donna, this
Mhm.
is the thing that I want to ask you about. What is it that you are looking to replace, first of all?
Mm. Pretty much everything.
Okay. And okay, that's a good start. I think this is the most best start. Actually, never mind. Pretty much everything. Just say everything, and that's it. Even if there's some good stuff, throw it all out. Then put it back. And if there's now you're saying, okay, no, no, no. The things that are yes, you say, well, wait a second. This is an old thing. Before I put it back, I'm gonna really, really, really look at it completely and utterly thoroughly. So I want to, when I put it back, I'll make sure it goes back in the way that I want it. And if there are any tweaks needed, I'm gonna tweak it, and I'm only going to put it back if it is absolutely 100% what I do want, right? So I'm going to be very scrupulous and thorough and diligent and conscientious in putting it back. I'm going to be impeccable in determining whether it's appropriate to put it back or not, yeah? So throw it all out. So now, in terms of the replacement, what is it that you can start replacing it with? All this, everything. You're starting from scratch. What would be the first thing that you would add into your life? Let's do the Biala exercise. You wake up on that foreign planet. You have no memory, and now you have to start. You don't remember who you were. You've thrown it all out, including your memories. You're very fortunate that you're able to do this. Now you are building yourself from scratch. So what's the first thing that you put in? First things don't have to be in order. What do you start putting in? Just start putting in what you'd like to have inside you.
Okay.
Like your dictionary of power, yes.
Right.
Can
I
you pull
am
up your
putting.
dictionary of power?
I'm doing that. Oh, you want me to do it out loud?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Hey, wow, wow. We want to be also part of this. We want to, yeah. This is fantastic to hear. I want to also learn. We love learning. It's a very magical thing.
And I want to say I've been doing this the last few days, but I've been doing this since you texted me, and it's just interesting the physical stuff that's going on, like the memory and the vertigo, and just, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
So can you say a bit more on that? Like the memory? What do you mean? Which memory? Like just old memories surfacing?
no, it's like
Oh.
don't have a memory.
Oh, well, isn't that what you wanted?
I don't know. Is it? It's
I would
weird.
say so. Oh hell yeah! If you don't have a memory of all that old stuff, like that's super fantastic. It's gone. You're getting rid of it. Does it serve you? Is it any real value? I could happily let go of all my memories. Matter of fact, when I wrote them all out, after writing a young man's story, they don't sit with me. I sort of vaguely remember, but I have to go and look it up, the details. In most
Yeah,
stories.
that's right. It's like but the other thing, the God, I don't even have words. They sort of come up in conversations, or like it, through other people's conversations with me. They bring them up, like parallel conversations, And then I'm like, yeah, that feels kind of vaguely familiar. I think I experienced that before. And then I like have to really think about it. Like, did that really happen? Or am I just making that up? Or did I dream about that? Or it's real like blurry. And I really have to concentrate. My focus has been awful. And I just feel off balance is all. So it's just an interesting kind of process. This happened before too. So I'm just trying to this time not freak out and just be outdoors and be quiet and by myself. Because last time I got really bad anxiety, and then I was very erratic with my choices because I felt like this sense of urgency that I had to change everything instantly, and so I had to like run kind of thing. So I had to change this and I had to change that, and I don't want to do that again. So I'm just felt like if I shared it with you, just getting it out there has been helpful.
Yes.
To know that you're not, you're not sort of on this ship alone.
Yeah. No. So who determines the appropriate choices?
I do.
Yeah. And who determines whether things are good or bad or not when you choose?
Right. Just one sec. Bye. Have a. Thank you. You too. I'm at work still. It's been a day. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. I was saying, so you determine your choices. You decide what should is. You're the only one, right?
Right. There really isn't a whole lot of shoulds.
Right. But if they are, what you put in, how you react, whether you're anxious or not, this is every single one of those is your choice, nobody else's. There's no preset way for you to be in this circumstance, none whatsoever. You can choose whichever way you want to go. You're not supposed to react in a particular way. You're not supposed to have this or should anyway. No, it's all your choice as to what's supposed to be and should is entirely. So how you react to it all is completely your choice. If you choose to laugh at it, doesn't make you crazy. It's your choice. Like we say, oh, I'm irresponsible, I'm laughing. No, it doesn't mean that at all. You're having fun. Why not? It's a free choice. There's no set predetermined way you should be to this stuff at all or supposed to be. No, it's your choice. How you wish to react to this is your choice. Completely and utterly. Your choice.
Right.
Look at exploring. Some people go exploring and they love it. It's the thrill of their lifetime, and others can't stand it. They hate every second of it. They're anxious, stressed, worried, bothered. You see what I mean? There's no preset thing of way to go about this. It's an option. You can love it. You can have fun. You can think it's sublime. You can think it's spiritual. Whatever. It's your choice how you deal with it, and that's what we're doing. We're busy exploring. We're learning. We're growing. We're exploring. We're in uncharted territory. How you respond, how you feel, completely and utterly, totally up to you. You and you alone. Right? Does that make sense, Donna?
Yes.
Bina, does that make sense? I ask you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're not feeling a way that you would like to feel, Donna, ask yourself, or just ask the universe, whose choice is it to feel this way? And do I have to? There's never you're going to get an answer, oh, you have to feel this way. Never. Nope. Nope. Yeah?
Yep.
So,
How have you guys been?
very good.
Been
Hang
good?
on. I wanna press this point some more, Donna. This is a huge point. It's a huge point. So when you're making choices and you're looking at your replacement now and you're not feeling the way you want to feel, then say, why am I choosing to feel this way? Not why am I feeling this way? Why am I choosing to feel this way? Big difference.
Right.
Big difference. Make it all about your choice. It's going to shift it. a lot of the times I think you feel stuff because you think that, well, if I don't feel this way, then there's something wrong with me. Why? Where does this come from? Based on what? I think if you're not enjoying the exploring, there's something wrong with you. But people think they need to, they're supposed to, they should be anxious and worried because it proves they're a good person, they're good people. No, this proves you're neurotic. Doesn't mean that you're a good person, you know, or you're worrying unnecessarily, or you're stressing unnecessarily, or you're applying inappropriate application of goodness, or whatever, or you know, you're just making poor choices. A lot of implications, right? There's no right or wrong here. It's choice. It's your choice. You can decide what you wish to choose. That's what you want to replace with, right? Your choices.
Right.
So, can you give a more specific example about something in particular, Donna? Because without the details, you know, I'm just kind of shooting the overall overview, abstract stuff, but details. We need the details very specifically. So, what were you feeling anxious about, for instance?
Not having memory and sort of the overall physical feeling has made me a little anxious, and that's really about it. Just,
All right. So,
it comes
explain
and
why the
goes.
anxiety over the memory is an issue. I'm trying to understand why it produces the anxiety in you. I mean, go into
It
the
feels
details. It's very
uncomfortable
interesting.
when it feels a bit uncomfortable that I can't recall things.
Okay, so how do you know you can't recall?
Because when the stuff comes up in conversation, I used to be able to like remember, and then it would like connect to that. And now it's like this, I really have to concentrate, and it's more of a feeling of, I feel like I kind of experience that too. Like everybody's, you learn from everybody, they're your mirror and all that.
Yeah. Now, what about, is it maybe just a function of you don't care anymore?
I don't really care anymore.
Exactly. So there's no need to remember.
It's sort of a stupid, it's a silly circle thing. I don't
Exactly.
care, but
Exactly.
yet the fact that I can't remember makes me anxious.
Exactly. But it's
I know.
only because you think you should remember in some way. Yeah. Then just make it a point and say, well, I don't care if I don't remember the stuff. End of story. That's it.
Okay.
It's not important to me. I mean, decide. You know what I mean? Decide that's okay. It works for me.
Right.
Decide. You know what I mean? Anything of these things come up, choose what you want. You don't want to remember the stuff necessarily. It doesn't matter. You don't care. So okay, there you go. I'm happy. You know,
Gotcha.
maybe again, look at it. Look on the positive side. Insist on making sense out of it. If you're not remembering the stuff, isn't it your body, your soul, yourself telling you, hey, you got better stuff, you got more important things, you've got more fun things, more joyful things, more sublime things, more spiritual things to pay attention to, instead of wasting your time on stuff that doesn't bring you any value? No, it just takes up brain space. Maybe your mind is clearing itself so that you can have space to actually put your replacements into. There's a lot of replacement, yes? There's a lot in
Yes.
being your divine self. So you need space. So you're throwing out all the crap. It's fantastic. Yeah?
Yes.
All right. So do me a favor in all of this stuff. Do as your default. First, assume it's good. And then find out and make a list and write out why it's good. First thing, no matter what you're feeling, assume it's good. No matter how terrible you're feeling, stressed, bothered, anxious, whatever, fearful, bothered, I don't care how bad the feeling is. Assume first, never mind assume, insist that it's good and that it makes sense and that it's good. That's it. Then you look for the good reasons why it's happening. Like in this case, I'm not remembering. This is a good thing. It's clearing my mind so that I have space for all my replacement, then I have space for all my divine self. Okay, that's it. It's
I
good
didn't
reason.
necessarily think it was bad. I just
All
have
right.
a nature that wants to understand why some weird things are going, unusual
Right,
things are going
right,
on. I
right.
really didn't feel like it was necessarily bad.
Ah, good. But you didn't necessarily feel it was good either.
No, I felt like there was good to it, but I wanted
Ah,
to understand
right,
it so that I'd
right.
understand the good, and then it
Gotcha.
feels better.
Right.
It's that sometimes I just want to know too many of the details. I always want to know why, what's going on. And I think there is a bit of um, there's a bit of attachment, a little bit still to what happened, because the same physical symptoms and the same kind of clearing um, happened in 2003.
Yeah,
That happened now. So I think there's still an association with that experience a little bit.
yeah.
I'm trying to
So,
work through that and clear that out.
right. So the same experience, what if it is a profound spiritual experience that was just kind of wasted a little bit because it went down, by queuing and triggering and spiraling, it spiraled negative when it can just as well spiral positive.
Right. Well, I
So,
know that. I know that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So just insist on finding the good. That's it. And if you have trouble finding alternative perspectives, that's one thing I can always guarantee you is to give you
Well,
alternative perspectives.
that's why I did reach out to you.
Oh, good, good. Thank you, thank you. Because I enjoy giving perspectives. I don't know, they might not be true. Who cares? It's a perspective. It gives
Right.
you options. You see, and
Right.
it gets you out of the that when you don't see those possible options, we don't know. So, but now that you have options, it could be this, could be this. That's it. That's all that's needed. Something. It could be this, and this is very powerful. Now, do you think the universe makes sense?
The universe does always.
Exactly. So, by implication, everything that's going on in a bigger overview context with you is connected to that makes sense. So everything in your life also ultimately makes sense in some way or another. It has to because you're part of the universe.
Right.
That's the key. All we got to do is find out how it makes sense. And we got to keep persisting until we figure out how it makes sense. That's it. The assumption is it is good and makes sense. End of story. That's it. It's not a maybe, it's a definite. Keep going until you find out how, and then life is easy. Insist that it makes sense. Insist that it's good. Changes everything. Changes everything. We are very conditioned and programmed to look for the bad first, but it doesn't help you. You only see part of the picture. And typically we don't even see the bad, we just see the unpleasant and the not nice. And that's only because we are insisting on looking at the thing inappropriately. So we kind of create badness because we expect to find it. That's the default. When we don't understand something, it must be bad.
Yeah, I
It's messed
didn't
up, but
default to that. I didn't.
oh,
I really didn't. I
awesome,
have in
awesome.
the past, and this felt different. Everything you're saying, I could say with complete confidence and knowing. So it feels just a little like, mm, mm, just uh, if you know that everything that you just said, if you know that with every ounce of your being, then like why aren't you able to recall the memories, and why do you have physical things going on that are not easily answered because there's no sense to them? So then I do connect back to the last time it happened, and just a sense of knowing this time you got to do it different, and
Yes,
you can't
yes,
default to that stuff.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So the key point here is, Donna, capital T, trust.
Right.
This
I
is it.
know.
You want the answers now, but you have to trust. Now, if you're going to, thinking too, like, I can't remember, it's bothering me, you could be creating an internal queuing that says this is bothersome, and now you're looking for the reason why it's bothersome, and you see you create your own spiral loop. So you have to shift and say, I don't know why, but I'm going to trust there's a good reason. That's it.
I'm aware of the fact that I do have an awareness of in the past spiraling
Yeah,
thoughts that get me in trouble.
yeah,
And since this feels so familiar to a major time where that didn't work well for me,
yeah.
Sometimes I just need those other perspectives from outside, making sure just kind of like a
Yes.
lifeline, like check in
Yes.
and
Donna, you know
Wow.
you have this all the time, right? Always, always. I mean, I'm pretty sure you have my number that you can call me on or text me. I think you can call me on that number, the one that you used to text on, that we used to text on a lot.
yeah.
Pretty sure. Yeah. I know Bina can't, but you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So try it right now, Donna. You know the number that you use for the ID for the Zoom ID. It's also a phone number. So call it on your phone if you can, unless you're on the phone on Zoom now.
No, I'm not.
Oh, good. So call me on that number. I want to make sure it rings because Bina calls me on WhatsApp. It rings in my headset. It's really bothersome, you know, because sometimes I'm working and I've got a window over Zoom and Bina comes on and she's talking and, you know, the sound is off or whatever. And she tries to get my attention for whatever weird reason. Anyway, but if you call me on that, I'm pretty sure it'll ring. We'll see now. Also, I'll give you an alternative way to do it.
I was struggling to understand that why I forgot all
All your what?
my software engineering studies and my specialized diploma network. But today, Donna, when you shared that you also somehow not getting these memories, I feel that okay, I feel really good about myself now that I can count on it. That it might be the super sensibility of our mind. Said
Yes.
okay, now it is not like that.
Yes.
I was actually searching, Donna, that in which language I used to write programs. And I know nothing. I just remembers the word arrays and the word and some parentheses. That's it. And even this was with effort. I don't know what's on
So Bina
keyboard.
has
I
two
do some.
diplomas and degrees in I don't know all sorts of uh, technical programming, computer wizard stuff, and she doesn't remember any of it. She's as tech savvy as you are now. How do you figure that, Bina, Donna?
I don't know.
But now, Bina, explain to Donna how it makes sense in your
This
situation.
is what I'm saying that Donna, just yesterday, I was trying to search that okay in which language I used to write programs, and what was I was doing actually at that time, and the writing program it needs a whole lot of typing. I'm not able to even search words on keyboard
Right. But why does it make
efficiently.
sense that you can't remember
So
it?
and now when you shared that okay you are also not getting access to those memories, specific memories. Now it makes sense that it was just a super sensibility of our mind that things which might cause a physical damage to our brain or physically to our bodies and mentally, psychologically, it prevents us from that by just forgetting that. That's it. It's not
Bina,
good.
I still haven't heard why it makes sense in your case specifically.
Because if I was in that situation stuck, that would be really painful also. But in my case especially, it would be like okay, I was just wondering my head over that thing, try to get that because it becomes an ambition. And yes, it was an ambition before, but later on it becomes like an obsession because that oh someone is snatched my final project, something happened. I might be just sitting in a cubicle and just trying to get things. So now,
So let me understand this quickly, Bina. I want to make it clear because I know the story, but it's not very clear here if somebody doesn't know the story. In other words, if you remember all your programming, you'd be working as a programmer now, and you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be part
yeah,
of Way of Impeccability, correct?
yes,
You'd have a whole
yes,
different life. So you forgetting this was a super sensibility that was a very magical and sensible and fantastic thing. Yes.
yes, and
Okay.
I'm just trying to emphasize on that. I feel that not only that okay, I would not be here, but also that experience would be really painful for me to remember.
Okay, this is the
even
experience of your
though,
friend stealing your exam.
yeah, that thing, that association attached to that.
Right, right, right. But I mean, there's
So
a
my
greater
life would be
sensibility even
miserable.
than that, right? And that is that you would be on a different life trajectory if you remembered that stuff, right?
So yeah, this is what I'm saying,
I mean,
trying to
even if
say
she
that, that
and the fact that she stole it, it was a massive gift from the universe. Yeah,
yes, so my
right.
life would be miserable.
Yeah. So
And
sometimes, you
and you
know,
know
that
what
we get forced
Elizabeth
into
was saying,
paths because of our memories, in other words, yeah,
yeah,
or what we know.
and look what and Sel, what Elizabeth was sharing this before Donna came, and that was something really huge.
Oh
She
yeah,
see
what?
everything, seeing all the red flags, but
Oh yeah,
it's still she wanna go there because she feels that oh, there is a chance for learning,
yeah,
which is okay. It's not an excuse, sorry, but anyway. So some people just deliberately choose painful experiences.
yeah. So, Donna, what happens when you get a red flag? What's the meaning of a red flag?
Depends.
Say again.
It depends.
I can't hear you. You're too soft.
It depends.
But in a more technical sense, like literally,
Caution.
what's the meaning of a red flag? Like it's a racing thing. It comes from motor racing. So when they bring out the red flag, what does it mean?
Last lap.
No,
No.
no, it stops the race.
Oh, it stops the race.
Yeah,
I'm not a big racing fan.
right. But I mean, that's what a red flag means. You stop everything. It's a warning to say danger. Do not proceed. It's a red flag. It's a warning to say do not proceed. It's telling you here's something wrong. It's not a yellow flag or a green flag. You know, there's other flags that tell you, oh, you know, this, you know, maybe you got to be just go a little slower, cautious, you know, stuff like that. That's a yellow flag usually, but you know, red flag, no, you got to stop. You can't carry on. So, but people ignore these, and I don't understand why. You know, you get a red flag, that's it. You're out of there, right? Just saying, you know, when like in this case, we were hearing about somebody who was Elizabeth was saying she's persisting in something for a long time, you know, despite seeing red flags, which is just amazing. So, but when we really look at the sensibility of things and decide and say the way that I'm going to relate to this unknown, this exploring, this new stuff, it's up to me. So you have an ability to spiral. Yes, you have an ability for immersion, right?
Right.
Now, can that go up or down, positive or negative? Either way, right?
Right. Up to me.
Right. It's up to you to spiral it into the positive. So if you think of all of this as a doorway to more, right? Now, doesn't it become very super exciting?
Yeah. I usually do.
Yeah. But I mean, insist on it,
Well, no,
right?
I do.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But insist on it, insist on it, insist on it. So every time you say, "Oh, I'm feeling a little anxious," to say, "Okay, I'm going to turn that and transform it and repurpose that anxiety into excitement, into energy, into caution, into awareness, into alertness. Just keep repurposing. Don't squash it or try and ignore it or whatever. No, repurpose it, repurpose it.
Okay. Yep.
How exciting is that? Yeah.
Yes.
So again, I'm keen for more specifics, Donna. The specifics are really important. Without the specifics, it's we need to apply them to the specifics and stuff. Yeah.
I have perspectives to
On
look at
what?
it from. It's good.
What's that?
It's good.
Oh, what is good? Sorry, I'm a little lost here now. I need
No, I
details, Donna.
have
I need
different
details.
No, uh,
I'm triple Virgo, as Bina says. So,
um,
yeah. Details.
the bottom line is everything you said, I know and am most of the time. And I have a couple situations where I'm aware that I can get immersed in a bubble. So I tried some of the things that usually work and they weren't. And I was kind of running out of my own toolbox um, to like leverage it. It seemed to like, not because of thought either, but just physically within my body, some symptoms. So that's where it gets a little confusing for me, because if it were thoughts and you see the, like you're saying, if it was as simple as the red flags and thoughts and then you stop and then everything's good, for me that would be easy to shift out of. But the thoughts are where I, like you were reading my mind, that's the thoughts I have had and that's what I've been about for so long. But physically I have some things going on that align more with 2003 situation where the thoughts and the awareness wasn't there at all.
Right.
So when and then when they're happening, like the external things are happening that are similar as well, with the memory and just the conversations being parallel and things like that, I keep feeling confident because the awareness is there, and I keep focusing on that's the key. I mean, that's everything. I didn't have that awareness in 2003, and I just crashed and burned. So now I do. So I just want to get rid of the physical part, and the thoughts weren't quite working, and the grounding wasn't working, and everything you were saying about focusing on the good and spiraling it up and all that good stuff. The physical part was still there, and it's just a little disorienting to not be able to pull the memory, and it's a little disorienting to like just feel sort of queasy to your stomach, and I don't know, the vertigo thing. I remember that in 2003, that was really bad. So functioning, you still have to go to work and you still have to take care of the dog and all that good stuff. I was kind of looking for maybe some other toolbox items.
Okay, well, that's one toolbox item I do want to share with you. I mean, yes, there's perspective shifting, and of course, insisting it makes sense in some way, right? This is very key. But there are other toolbox items that are very profound that we can use in this case, and one such is repurposing feelings, right? Anxiety can be excitement. It's the same. It's the same underlying energy. It just has an habituation from it, because typically that's how we're taught to take. When that particular feeling comes up, it gets this label onto it. But we can just, with the tiniest of little tweaks, that same thing suddenly becomes excitement or energy or alertness or attention, right? So when you feel these feelings next time, see how you can repurpose them. It's a very profound tool. Practice repurposing constantly, even in things that aren't a big deal. In the tiniest of little things, just keep repurposing. It's a most incredible thing. And then it's dealing with our old enemy, habit. Most of the time, it's just habit. And repurposing, part of the repurposing is insisting that it makes sense, insisting that it's good. How does this make sense? How is it good? Repurpose. It's very powerful. Very, very, very ridiculously, hugely powerful.
I think for me, I hear what you're saying in that, like the butterflies in your stomach and your body feeling lighter and vertigo and the memory thing. It's simple and easy to associate that with something that happened, like to you, but then it didn't happen. You know, back then it was to you because you were so unaware, right? That's why I'm saying that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you have like an illustration in your head that that's like, and and to repurpose it, um, that's the abstract, and so it may not be what your senses are used to, your eyes, your
Right.
ears, your recall. It's that abstract, so it's not tangible. So that's where you're saying the capital T comes in. But I also have to, I'd like to like take it, and when you say leverage it, have a replacement for it so that, let's say that I feel butterflies in my stomach and it's sort of nauseating, and instead of being like, oh, I have anxiety, why do I have this? I'm not thinking about the future. I have like zero worries, and that's the honest truth.
Oh yeah.
So what is this about? So like, okay, well, I'm going to take it and leverage it into excitement.
Right.
I get
Exactly.
stuck with, I get
Exactly.
stuck in the immersion of, but why is it happening?
Right. Right. It's happening to assist you in repurposing, leveraging, perspective shifting, making sense. That's why it's happening. Happening for good reasons. All of those are magical reasons.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
All of those magical reasons. Very powerful magical reasons. Yeah. So, in terms of what to replace it with, one thing you can just simply do is, if it's not feeling good, just use philosophy of opposite.
Okay.
That's it. Just switch it to the opposite and say, okay, that's it. I'm just gonna take it to the opposite. And one of the tools here, repurposing and choice.
Right.
Absolutely insist that I'm going to choose how I connect to this and how I relate to this. Yeah,
Yep.
it's powerful. It's powerful. And then leverage your own impeccability and your own sense of who you are to say, hey, dang it, you know what? I am not somebody who's at the whim of this stuff. I have my own sensibility and my own power. I'm the one who determines. I'm not going to have this determined for me by stuff just who knows where it comes from. Yeah. Just because I don't know why doesn't mean the end result. You can get value whether you know or not. Yeah.
Right.
It's our choice to determine value. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a powerful tool, choice. Yes.
Set you free.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we don't know, right, what's going on, one of our tools too is imagination. When things aren't clear, we need to use our imagination to make it clear. Yeah.
It's a choice.
Right. I'm just saying it's a powerful choice that if we don't know why, we can imagine why it could possibly be, right? But we have to use that imagination positively, right?
Right.
It's very important, very important. So part of this too is reality creation. Yes. Now,
Yes.
if you're looking for a good reason for all of this, isn't reality creation a really, really profound and powerful lesson here? Because you're getting options to go whichever way it can go. And so, if you look at this, like your higher self is saying, "Wait a second, if you want to live in fluid reality, you better need to develop your imagination, right?
Hmm.
Right?
Right.
We can't just be defaulting to, a negative interpretation or a not so positive one or one that's our usual things that we've always had before. We're just going to have the same old, same old. So we need to develop imaginations to be able to imagine what more there is, to imagine the moreness, to imagine how it could make sense, to imagine how it's potent and powerful. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. That's very exciting. That's very exciting. Imagination's a very powerful thing. Very powerful thing. Very powerful. Uh-huh. What are you thinking now, Donna?
I'm just watching your eyes move.
Mm-hmm. Just thinking about stuff.
And you?
I'm thinking about this thing about imagination, how it's such a necessary skill. I wrote about it in the origin story about angels not necessarily having imagination, and they come
I
to
remember
earth.
that.
Yeah, not to be perfect under imperfect circumstances, and one of the reasons they need to develop and exercise they have imagination, they just out of practice, and they need to practice it. Because, well, in heaven you don't need imagination, but down here, oh hell, you do. And if you're going to be in your own fluid reality, and now you come down to earth, you see, whoa, there's lots of options they don't have in heaven. The old sort of cliche thing about heaven being boring. Well, it turns out to be actually but true. Well, at least in the old heaven. So they realize, oh, there are more options, but with those options, you can go both ways with options. That's the that's the fun thing when you get choice. You can go either way. So so they realize they better need to develop their imaginations, because otherwise, if you don't have imagination, you're limited in your choices, right?
Right.
And that's something very powerful for me, very powerful. So in terms of things, do you still are you still feeling these feelings, Bina? Donna, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, Bina.
Go ahead, Bina.
Okay, the question is for you. Anyway, Giselle, please repeat the question.
Me?
Yeah?
Sorry, I was asking Donna. Of is there anything she still? Oh, sorry, what am I getting this cough from now? Is there anything you're still feeling, Donna, physically?
Mm. Um, well, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what kind of physical feelings?
You just tingle it. I have a lot of tingling that's unexplained. I don't know if it's because I'm working out again, maybe.
Wow. And is the tingling bad or good?
It's just unusual. I mean, my body doesn't normally
Right.
tingle. My head doesn't normally tingle. It's
Right.
just
So if
unusual.
you're busy transforming into something different, that's your next evolution. Like if you're a caterpillar, busy transforming into the butterfly, right? Okay, first you go into that liquid, right? Remember, that's the story. Actually, what happens with caterpillars, they dissolve into liquid. I didn't know that. Kay was sharing the story, all right? But nonetheless, either way, you busy transforming, right, into something different, something new, something beyond your imagination. Don't you think that you will be feeling some unusual feelings as a precursor?
Yes.
It's like, duh, right?
Right.
Okay. How exciting is that? The fact that you are feeling the tingling. Is that appropriate and sensible? And good.
Yep. Yes, it is.
So all the stuff, if you look at it in that context, in the caterpillar butterfly context, then it all starts to get very exciting, doesn't it?
Yes.
Very exciting, very exciting, very exciting. You have to insist it makes sense, right? I mean, who's in charge of your reality?
I am.
There you go. And when you look at it in that context, everything shifts, yes?
Yeah, that perspective's pretty solidly in place.
So all this tingling, it's like, man, if you're going to be transforming into a butterfly, I'm pretty sure that caterpillar is going to be tingling all over, no?
I guess.
Seems like to me, your energy is raising, your vibrations are raising, everything is raising. Donna, that R.D. Lang book, Birds of Paradise, and I forget the other one. I think the Politics of Experience or something like that is called. But they go together. Penguin Classics put it out. It shouldn't be too hard to find. Um, might be worth reading. Might be worth reading. Really. I really recommend it. It's very small. They're very thin little book. I mean, the two books together is not even 100 pages, I don't think.
Who's the author?
R.D. Lang.
R.D. Like,
Yeah, like the
Robin,
initial.
Donna.
Yeah. R full stop period whatever D period Lang, Laing.
I think I tried to get that at the Westlake Library and they didn't have it. And then I
Yeah.
forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean it should be something that you can get on on Amazon. So, matter of fact, let me go right there and look right now.
Birds of Paradise and what was the other one?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think if you just search R.D. Lang Birds of Paradise, they'll come up.
Bina, have you read those?
No, I've been asked. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
We never really discussed it and got into it. So.
Yeah.
How are you, Bina?
I'm good, and you saw that on my profile. It's a kind of like continuous comments on my profile pic, current profile pic. So it was
Yeah,
all started with fun.
the full is the Politics of Experience and the Bird of Paradise. Yeah, Scottish psychiatrist R.D. Lang. And hang on a second. Yeah, screen
The
share.
Politics of what?
The Politics of Experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll show you now. Yeah. Look at the screen, and I'll send you this link in Messenger in a moment. So there it is. That's the one I read right there. That's the exact book. That's it with this strange cover on it. Politics of Experience and the Bird of Paradise. R.D. Lang. Penguin Classics. Right there. So, dang.
Add to cart.
You want me to ship it to you?
No, I'll get it.
All right. Hold on. There are you. Self-experience. Donna. Right here. All right. There you go. There's a link. So, yeah. When you just, it gives you a different perspective, and it really emphasizes that just the simplicity of just the perspective involved. That was it. That was the whole deal about everything. Everything was determined not by the facts or why or nothing, just by the belief and the perspective involved. It's an incredible thing. Incredible thing. So, very exciting. Very excited. See if they say anything about it here. Guess not. Book description. Yeah, one of the best books I've ever read. Yep. Me too. It was. I had very few books on my short list of. I had a special shelf, and that's it. It was one shelf, 2 feet long, and I had all the books that I remembered out of all those hundreds of books that I read. Of the classics now. Well, maybe even more than hundreds, but just amazing to me. So the very few that was on that shelf. Yeah, this is his famous one, The Divided Self, but this is not relevant here. this one is. These two together, you know. So yeah, this combination. I'm surprised it's so expensive. Well, they get used ones, but dang, still expensive. Yeah, 10 used from 909. That makes more sense. So come on, man. This is a little thin, skinny book. Yeah, 1308. There you go. 909, 399 shipping. So, okay, so $13 is free shipping. There you go. That's much better. That's much better. Yeah, yeah. Good copy with moderate cover and page weight. There you go. I mean, as long as you can read it, who cares what the cover looks like, right? Slow shipping, but still, they ship it by book post. That's why.
Well, thank you. I just needed to.
Oh, pleasure, pleasure, Donna, pleasure, pleasure. So, was there? And that's the question I was asking. Are there any more physical feelings that are involved right now?
Just lack of memory. It's tingling in my head. Feel queasy.
Right,
Haven't really
right.
wanted to eat much. Very tired for no reason.
Well, you're transforming. What do you think? All that energy of turning into a butterfly. Yeah, it just, you don't think it's going to take energy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You don't think this all makes sense if you look at it in that context? The tingling, all of this stuff, tiredness, makes sense to
Yeah.
me. All right, so there's another thing to consider, Donna, that's very important that people overlook. And like I know with vertigo, sometimes stuff just can be related to diet.
Right.
So we have to kind of keep in mind that there can be physiological reasons. One such, Donna, very overlooked circumstance, very, very overlooked, is dehydration. We get dehydrated. All the symptoms that you are talking about, they loss of appetite, tiredness.
No, I like the butterfly scenario
All right,
better.
I'm just saying.
I want to hold on to
Sometimes
that
there's
one.
sometimes there's very simple reasons for things. It's hot. It's summer. You said it's just unusually hot, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so have you been drinking extra to
No.
keep up with the heat? Well, there you go. So please give Donna a smack.
Drink more water.
Right, exactly. Hydrate. All right, so Bina, look, I'll show you in a moment. Maybe try Bina's remedy. I'm trying it, and I don't know. I am quite happy with it actually. I'm persisting in drinking it despite it tasting terrible. It's called golden. It's called golden elixir, and it's a big deal in the subcontinent over there where Bina is. People swear high and low by this, and you want full cream milk. The fat is important, so it has to be that. Right? It reacts, and you add turmeric to it. So, to a cup of milk, you warm it. It's very important to warm it, and then you add half a teaspoon of turmeric. Okay, now optional. I don't know if I should mention this or not, but okay, Venus Mama drinks it with sugar, so do I. It's good for Mama. It's good for me. But optional too, that in other recipes, black pepper is used as an activating agent to release all the power of turmeric, because turmeric's a funny thing. It needs the fat in order to make it work. So that's the point of this in the warm milk and the warm and the fat. But pepper apparently also adds as a releasing agent for turmeric. Now I found that I put sugar and pepper and turmeric, and it actually makes the pepper tends to cancel out the taste of the turmeric. Well, the sugar helps too, but it's funny how the pepper just balances it out. So I end up just the two cancel each other out kind of, and I just drink a sweetened milk that's got a little bit of a sort of a strangish taste to it, and it's not such a bad thing to drink. So unless I'm just getting used to it, I don't know. It's quite possible, but it's primarily a anti-inflammatory, but it has all sorts of other magical good uses, right, Bina?
Yep.
All right, so I don't know, something to try, Donna. And it's warm, not hot, right, Bina? It's just to release the
Yes.
fats. That's the point of it. Okay, putting extra pepper today, Bina. You can actually see when you put the pepper on the milk, you can see the milk start to move. You actually can see it change. It's quite interesting, Bina. So I think the pepper might actually release the fats, Bina,
It is not about releasing the fat, but
or
the
activating
fact
it, or do something to it. I don't know.
it's an element in
Oh,
bori or turmeric which activates by the fat.
yeah.
So
But I mean,
or
when I put
pepper.
the pepper, I see the milk change. So I'm just saying it may do
Yeah.
something to the fat to make the. And so you're gonna get to witness this in a moment, Donna. And I'm gradually putting more and more turmeric in, Bina. All right. And of course, milk is a soporific. Want a fancy word, Bina? You like that?
Yeah.
Nice fancy word for you. Milk is a soporific. S O P
What
H
is this
O
now?
R I C. Something that
What is
makes you
this?
sleep.
Okay.
You see, Donna? Can you see why it's called
I
golden
see.
elixir? Oh, all right.
What time do you guys go to sleep? Soon, yes?
Now,
Okay.
but yeah, it's not so terrible, you know.
Sleep peacefully.
The pepper really helps, Bina, to cancel
Hmm.
out. Why? I don't really taste the pepper. Well, now I do a little bit because there was a little bit left over because it's black pepper, so it's grainy, you know. So I won't drink the last, but it's not as terrible as my face makes it look. So, but it the milk helps you sleep a bit, so that's good too. But anyway, so something to try, something to try. But the dehydration, absolutely, Donna. That's definitely something, and you know that might be something from the exercise too. That you're exercising profoundly and you just get a bit dehydrated. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, dehydration is a most overlooked thing for pretty much most of the symptoms people feel, and generally, headaches, fatigue, nausea, lack of appetite, dehydration. It's amazing.
Gotcha. Could
Yeah,
be it.
yeah. But
I'll be
nonetheless,
aware.
too, I think the caterpillar thing is very profound, and I do feel that's part of it. Absolutely, you're changing profoundly, you know, and like the loss of memory. This is making space for all the new stuff. The hell you need to remember all this stuff for? I don't know. I just find memories for the most part. Once you've extracted the value, I'm happy to let it go. I've learned my lesson. I don't want it clogging up my brain. Thank you very much. My brain is very useful to me. I need it free and alert and potent. So
Well, one thing that resonates with what you're saying is going through an, a deliberate kind of process of saying out loud the lessons that were learned. And then
yes,
maybe that's why it's happening
yes,
too now that you say that. Because I've
yes,
been doing that quite a bit,
yes,
like we talked about,
yes, yes. That's the point of the repeat backs and the
right?
takeaways. It is a profound thing. That's why I want to hear the details. Because you know you type the details, but then when you come here, I don't hear anything. I'm like, I need more. I like
Mm,
details. I like details. I like details.
right.
So it looks like I'm gonna be getting red shoes. By the way,
I hear that. Nice.
you saw? Did you see this on the
I
screen?
did.
All right.
Maybe when
As
I
long as they're
come to
comfortable.
Sedona, you'll wear them.
As long as
You
they're
can see
comfortable.
them.
As long as they're
They're
comfortable.
beautiful shoes.
Oh, they're gorgeous. I love shoes. I love lady shoes. I think they're just fabulous. I'm not sure I wear them. I mean, because they're uncomfortable for me. But oh, I think they just. I mean, they're works of art. Really, how can you not appreciate
Right?
it? They're just something else. They're really fantastic. So yeah, yeah. Please don't kill the fireflies. Yeah. No, no, we won't. That's why we're putting them in the cage to protect them. Yeah.
So good to hear your laugh when you
Oh,
guys
yes,
talk. Ugh.
yes, yes, yes. All right. So do you use Pandora, Donna?
Yes.
Okay, good. So if you scroll down to Pandora, I'll show you in a second. Let me just give all these things love here. So, okay. Wow, that's a pretty bright picture, Bina. Wow, I like that outfit she's got on. So I'm a really good fashion consultant, by the way, Donna. I mean, I'm seriously, I'm not joking. I really am.
Okay.
Just in
Okay, so
case, just
this is
useless skills, but all right. So what I want to do? Oh yes, Pandora. I want to show you something on Pandora. Hold on 1 second. I have to get back into screen share. Pandora and put it on. Oh. Hey, Pandora. It does that sometimes. It just comes really loud for like a second and then it decides, no, I've had enough of that. So, very strange. Okay, so I'm going to make Pandora full screen. All right, so if you go to Pandora and let's see, how do they do this again? Is it under Browse? Or is it under My Collection? I don't remember, but anyway, if you fiddle around, we'll find it in a second. Uh, Featured plays, browse the genres, decades. They have pre-made stations, and I think top stations, artists on the rise, top new music, recommended podcasts. I don't know where they put it now, but you can find pre-made stations of comedy. So these are very powerful. I don't know. Maybe we have to search for it. Browse genres. Okay. View all. So it's in the genres. So pretty sure. We'll see now. Country, Latin, dance, classical, comedy. So yeah, you see, if you go this now, did you see the station? I went all genres, and then they
Hmm.
give you the genres. So now you go here to comedy, and you see all the stations in comedy. And you were just talking about, um, you know, laughing a little bit. So okay, today's comedy is obviously more modern and political comedy. You can pick here one-liner comedy. So there's a whole range here, but Jewish comedy. This is pretty good. This is a good one. So um, yeah, British comedy. These are worthwhile, and you can even um, put all of them. Like, look here, if I go, I've made a whole collection of like I've got 100 different stations, literally. All right, so I got like Bernie Mac and this comedy, anyway, all these different people, right? For whatever reason, I made these stations, but you can play them all at once. You can go play all, and then you can put it on shuffle, and it'll basically shuffle through all your different stations. So you can play all those comedy if you want to. But anyway, it's something that I really recommend listening to. Now I can't listen to it with Mina, obviously, but you you know the comedy, right, Donna? So maybe they got PG comedy in there. I never looked for it, but most of it is not PG. So, but it's
thank
very useful just to bring up a bit of laughter, and it's very useful. It's very powerful. So something I really do recommend. So I haven't listened to them for a while, but I will listen to them again. Practice my laughing again. So get these my laughing muscles are a little bit out of practice. Let's just put it that way. I mean, we do laugh a lot, but not that kind of laughter. You know what I mean? So yeah. So very cool, very cool. What do you listen to on Pandora usually, Donna? Yeah. You listen to stuff on Pandora usually? I mean, you have a specific stuff you listen to or no? Donna? Is Donna still here?
I was
you.
talking away. I was answering you, and I was leaving.
That's all
I'm
right.
like, why is he still asking me? I just answered.
That's all right. That's all
Yeah, I do listen to Pandora. I listen to meditation and Zen a lot, and then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I really like Journey,
right.
and rock and roll
Right.
stuff, and then Ed
Yeah.
Sheeran, and
Right. Right.
yeah,
So
just
so
different.
a tip for Pandora. If you make a new station, if you like variety, then only put in the artist. If you like it very specific, then put a song.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also if you want variety, don't use the thumbs up or thumbs down. If you want it to get tighter and play stuff that's very exactly like the stuff you like really narrow, then use the thumbs up and thumbs down. Yeah. So it's just the way they set up like that. So if you like variety, I'll send you my station. It's got like super huge, loads of variety in it. So It's made specifically to have variety in it. The only thing it doesn't really have much of is hip hop. A little bit of country, not a lot, but that's some. Yeah, very powerful stuff. But anyway, that's if you like variety. If you don't like variety, then no. I mean, it goes all the way from classical, like fusion. It's got Bollywood music in it. I try and find Japanese and Chinese music, which I quite like, but it's very hard to find.
Mm.
But yeah, I like it also.
Nice.
Very cool, very cool. All right, now we gotta go sleep. We're gonna go
Yeah.
sleep. But yeah, this is the latest we go. But we sleep between 2 and 3 usually. So just so you know. I mean, if you get home this time, we're still here. We're still here. So right.
2 and 3, so it's,
Oh well,
let's see,
but anyway, what's the time? 6 now. Between 5 and 6 your time.
6:15 here.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
we go to sleep.
4:15 where you are, and then
No, no,
4:15
no,
in the
no,
morning.
no, no, not 4:15. It's 3 o'clock where we are now, just past 3. So that's because you're 3 hours away from me in summer.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
so you go to bed at 3 in the afternoon.
Between 2 and 3 in the afternoon, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Three's
Bina,
the
it's
latest.
3 in the morning.
No, same,
Yes.
same.
Same.
Yeah, but I mean it's the same time. We've synchronized our time. So for Bina, it's 3 in the morning
Yes.
now. Exactly.
Yeah. That's what I
Exactly.
thought. Okay,
Exactly.
sleep time.
Right. Right. But I mean, we up now at 11 o'clock my time. We get up.
Okay.
In 8 hours from now. In other words, that's why
Mm-hmm.
it's this 2 and 3. Okay, you need a little extra time there, but that's it. That's why we go to sleep now, so that we can be on the move.
So in 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up, you guys are up.
Oh yeah, we're waiting for you.
Oh, good to know. I'm up a lot at 3 in the morning.
There you go. So come visit us. Come hang out. Come hang out.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and
Right.
do stuff together. Work on slides. Make audio. All sorts of stuff we can do. So very exciting. Very exciting. But yeah, the sleep is very important. That's the other thing. If you're not sleeping right, Donna, all of those symptoms you mentioned can be through sleep deprivation too. I mean, besides, if you want to look at another, very prevalent reason why people feel all sorts of stuff, sleep deprivation.
Yeah,
Same as
I think.
dehydration, exceedingly common and has all of the same symptoms. It's
Right.
amazing, or similar symptoms. So yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
sleep well,
Yes, you
peacefully,
too. You too.
magically.
You too. So how are you gonna dream, Donna? You can't leave so quickly. You gotta wait until I at least wish you how you're gonna sleep. It's a very important thing, right? So Bina, how does Donna have to sleep tonight? How are we gonna wish her to sleep? You tell me.
Satisfied.
Oh, there you
Satisfied.
go. Sleep satisfied, Donna. Yes.
Thank you, Bina.
Sleep satisfied.
I will
Sleep
do it.
rest. All right. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant. All right. Bye bye, Donna.
Okay.
Bye bye,
Bye,
Donna.
Bye.
Sil.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye,
bye.
Bina.
Bye.